We get that hour now?
That's right.
If
Here
you're
we go.
interested in the
We are
services
live
of Zola and
on the
Associates
stream.
PC, please pick
In
up
just
the
a
phone.
moment, I'm going to make
Dial
sure that I've got good
312
You have a
throughput.
content disclaimer.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I do.
What does it say?
It's
Zola
it's
and
really
Associates, PC.
just kind of
Yeah.
a
So
anti-copyright thing because we get bugabooed by that. Look at that. Watch live. Hey, we're live on that. And the chat room can start joining in with us there in a moment. There we go. We'll take that down. And look at us. Here we are live. And I'll send out a little warning. Hey, Rocky Mountain Mike. What's happening, Edward?
I think it's
Yola Yola. Here we go. Hi. Panda Games and more. Hello. And more.
Panda Games?
Carl.
What's
happening, Carl?
That's somebody's name.
It's
yeah,
Johnny
that's
Million.
true. We really have
which
to
way
do
am I
that.
pointing?
There are a couple of things I want to mention unrelated to what we've been talking
And you'll hear a little
about.
bit of Chicago
You
coming our
know,
way because
we lost,
Lady B
just
is
a
on her way
giant
over.
in the music world last
But
week
we're
in Aretha Franklin.
Thanks for that.
Queen of Soul.
The Queen
I
of
did hear that.
Soul, that's right. And I
There's
understand
a
it
secondary
was
track right
Melody
here.
Chicago, it's okay.
Cooper's father
Hi,
who
I'm from
gave
the
her that
EU.
name
Hey,
and
Ronald.
crowned her.
Yes, indeed. It was
There's
at
a
the
secondary
Legal
track
Theater
playing.
Yeah,
Yes,
we-
there is.
Young
Not much,
Aretha
just watching a radio
Franklin
show.
came
It's what you do in the modern era.
Purvis
We
band,
watch
the all-day,
radio
all-night blues
and
band,
we listen to
crowned
television.
her
Right.
the Queen of Soul, and
Yeah.
she's always in our hearts and always will be.
So
Well,
there's
listen,
about 4
folks,
minutes
if
left
you
in the
love
show
Aretha
before us,
Franklin,
and so
and
you'll
then
hear a
you
little
know
bit of
there's
that
something
playing in the background. It's totally good. But we are live at the House Cafe out in Dekalb. And oh, okay. As far as what's going into this one, you mean? Okay, great. Yeah, so they don't have to hear Chicago. Okay, good. Nice. It's like a Robert Altman movie. It is exactly like a Robert Altman. We're getting the CPT feed on top of you. Okay.
Yeah,
that should be gone now. We've
get it.
fixed that, so hopefully we're okay.
I just saw OMG. I saw you on Lab Rats.
Hey.
You think she's talking to me?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, it's Panda Games.
That's right. Panda Game saw you on Lab Rats, Johnny. You were great as Adam.
I love being your daughter.
Bree, you were.
Yeah, I was Bree.
Yeah, most people don't know. You've changed a lot. Hi, Julie. Look at that. You're not hiking in in Kyrgyzstan this week or something. It's nice that you could join us.
When is Lab Rats making more episodes?
They're not. We're all done. I'm sorry, Panda. Sorry.
All the kids are grown up.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird now. They can't be in high school anymore.
All of the children are growing up. I gotta find the Trump saying anonymous or attempting to say anonymous audio.
Anonymous.
Oh, good Lord.
He's not good at that.
No.
It was another like United States kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. That's what I said when Richard Marx tweeted it. I was like, I just went.
Richard Marx, like right here waiting. Richard
Yes,
Marx.
yeah. He and I are friends now.
Oh, that's
It
awesome.
happened because of Twitter. It's a beautiful thing. Literally, he and I had lunch a couple weeks ago.
Oh, and who's he married to?
He's from Chicago.
Yeah.
He's married to what's her name? Who used to be an MTV VJ?
Yes.
Yeah, blitzing on it right now. Daisy Fuentes.
Yes.
Daisy Fuentes Marx.
That's so awesome.
It rolls off the tongue, and he's madly in love with her, and it's very adorable.
And didn't they meet like back in the day?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, there he is.
The latest act of resistance is the op-ed published in the failing New York Times by an anonymous, really an anonymous.
Dude.
Phenomena.
Do.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Just you gotta.
That's so
It's
funny.
okay to be medicated.
It's so funny.
But
no, it's not.
You
Hi.
have to
Hey,
balance it. You gotta be ready.
It's
like
the Moon Cat on Hellster. Yeah, I've got
like
my
Michael J. Fox. Like he's very measured about his medication before he goes on a TV show.
Look at the kitty kitten.
Stop it! You're killing me.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking to me, Julie, or are you talking to Panda?
Panda, they're not canceled. They're
not canceled.
The season. The show just ended. Gracefully.
Yes. The crowd behind Trump was just as funny. It looked like.
Oh, did you see that dude?
Yeah. He was totally doing that on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Like he's playing it like.
But his
so
reactions
perfectly.
were pretty appropriate. He's like, no.
What? No. Just so 17-year-old. Like, what?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, he was just.
There's a knob right here.
No,
I'm going to try turning this knob.
Quit! Don't touch my knobs while I'm on the air. It's much better.
There's a knob.
No, that's like a screw that holds this in place.
Screw knob.
The Doris Davenport, no relation to Donald Davenport, just to be clarifying.
Who is Doris?
I don't know. Matt has to tell us. We're new to Doris Davenport. Who is she? Okay. Okay. All right. How long does the city council have terms? Yeah, see, that's my problem. I have a problem with one not having, like right now, the president has a 2-term limit, which in this case isn't a concern, but Obama would have still been in had he not had one. But the Senate does not. That's my, the Senate needs term limits. That would fix most things. States do their own House term limits. They can kind of mess with them all they want. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Alex Jones isn't on Twitter anymore.
We have the documents.
I love cake.
I'm a man. I eat cake. Right.
I like cake,
I have sex with cake.
Ew.
Ew.
I really don't like him.
He's pretty awful. Remember I was on his show?
I do.
Yeah. What are you dancing to? Oh, there was a song playing through. I'm sorry you didn't get to hear that. Whatever. I'm great, Panda. Thank you for asking. 18 times 2 equals 36. Good. I hate it when other people are in the room. Chat room gets neglected. That's not true. We're paying attention, Rocky Mountain Mike.
Look here, Rocky Mountain Mike.
Hey, Pepe! All right. I just sent down a DM about a better Muppet Anonymous. Oh, nice. So, we'll be on in about 3 minutes now. He's now off the Apple App Store. Yeah, this is true, Paul.
I only blow up on Twitter when we're live.
Gaslighting is such a stupid term. I understand where it comes from, but it is not. It doesn't sound bad enough for what it is.
Right.
So to stupid people, it sounds kind of cool. You know what I mean? Yeah, dude, he's totally gaslighting. He's like totally like at a concert when you love stuff and you just gaslight it, bro.
So he sent me this, but do we need it?
And I'm gonna pump. I did it. Give it an email, and I'll just send. Oh, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Hal, is there a space in the room to show up? Yes, there is. Tony, come on down.
Yeah.
Where are you? We're broadcasting from the House Cafe in Dekalb, Illinois.
Yeah, man.
Come on down. Hi, Hannah. Yes, I am. Noise. Hi, Natalie. What's up, Can't Stop Lying? Good to see you. Johnny and Hal are alive again. We thought it'd be months upon months before it happened again, but we were able to make it happen. It's going to be. I think it might be a quarterly thing.
I hope so, and I hope it's here every quarter.
Oh, yeah, well, because you don't have to drive.
No,
meanwhile, I got to fly in, rent a car to get out here.
Fly no matter what. I just roll in. You know, they got Huskies.
Didn't even have to shower.
I just borrowed the Huskies.
Oh, did you?
Mush. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was an option.
There's Husky parking out there.
Good morning. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Mark. Home state, Miss Illinois, Bigley.
Mark misses Illinois Bigley.
Love Kamala Harris. Yeah, we have to play her clip.
She's bad.
Oh, she's good.
I think she's got a future in politics.
Oh, I do too.
Like, all the way.
Yeah, I agree.
She's like every manager I was a little afraid of but really wanted to like me.
Yeah, right. Like, I want to do well for this woman who is in charge. Yeah.
Exactly.
In a way.
Where?
That's all I'm saying.
What's that?
Nothing. Vegas is definitely next, but we have to get Johnny to come out there for it.
I'll go to Vegas.
Yeah. You come out to Vegas?
Yeah.
You'll do it?
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
I need to make like half the amount of money so I can write the whole thing off on like a 1099.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, of course. We can make that happen.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Because imagine the music stuff I'm writing off now.
JG, what's happening? Yeah. Johnny has the clip now. Oh, he's just sent you that, or whatever. How you're so naughty. I like it. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. You caught on to that. You, of all people, would. Yeah.
So do I forward it to, how can I get it to you?
Dekalb. I've got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and I'm wearing sunglasses, right? Thanks, Drift Glass.
We hear you, Michael.
Yes, I can. I love it.
Everyone can hear you, Michael.
I have so many problems with an anonymous. Yeah, nominash.
Do I send it to that one?
Huh? To mine or yeah, send it to that guy.
Okay.
Monominous. Send it to monominous.
So can you play it off your computer
yeah,
over
play
the
it
thing?
Off here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I have a Johnny Million guitar Instagram now, where I just like noodle and show gear, and
we still have to do if I drop by the house, can you set up and do a kitchen licks?
Oh yeah, we can do kitchen licks.
Do kitchen licks at your place. Oh, here we go. Show's starting. Focus, people. Here we come.
I'm gonna have to get a picture with
Thumbs
Wallace.
up in the stream.
Exclusively for WCPT AM and FM in Chicago and streaming worldwide at chicagosprogressivetalk.com. Standing up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Look at this. We are live.
Holy moly.
I know. We are live once again. The last one was so successful and so much fun, and we couldn't believe that people actually listen. We showed up and like, oh my gosh, people are actually hearing us when I talk through my half a broken phone or whatever I do every week to try and get the show on the air from wherever God knows I am, and you come in the studio with Lady B and kind of tolerate and like. What?
Apparently, I ruined it. It's like
no, that's not. Don't listen to that small minority of people who are very upset.
Some of you people don't like what I bring to the table, and I'm telling you that means there's more coming.
Yes, it's right. It's a guarantee. So okay. Let's start off with we have another week where it's reached this. How could Trump have a worse week than the last week before? But it somehow has happened. He
doubles down
in a lot of ways, and I'm very excited about it. Let's just be honest. That every time everybody's like, it's ratcheting up. It's getting it gets crazier all the time. It's kind of like that old, if you're going through hell, keep going. It's like if we're going through crazy, keep going. It has to go. And that's why when Anonymous came out this week, Anonymous, many of you, I don't know if you heard, this is Trump attempting to deride the person who did the New York Times op-ed this week, which was a lot of fun.
Anonymous, really anonymous.
He took 2 swipes at it.
And just bailed.
Yeah.
Just totally anonymous. God bless the United States of America. Somebody needs to, he needs like a denture
he needs
clip
something.
or whatever. So
I know that I can kind of imitate or pronounce a word if I hear it right before. And how many times has he heard the word anonymous right before that?
Especially since okay, he's been complaining about it all day. This is one of those things where, how could they be anonymous? How could they do this anonymously?
Whenever you hear there's an anonymous source, it's not true.
He said the word anonymous 65 times. It's almost like his mouth wore out. He said anonymous so many times. You're like, I can't say it one more time. My lips are going to fall off. Anonymous. So and I have my problems with the person who did this, and I agree in principle with what Obama said yesterday about it's not good
it's not a
that
service
somebody
to the country.
is backseat driving this maniac, because arguably one of the things that could get him closer to impeachment and possibly out of office sooner if some of his stuff went unchecked for a short time. Now, granted, having somebody dive for the button and push him out of the way, that's reasonable. I mean, but this idea that they're somehow soft pedaling some of his crazier notions in an attempt somehow to soften the blow of the Trump presidency,
but is still backing 90% of the crazy.
That's right. Is effectively making his intolerable behavior slightly more tolerable for some people.
Okay, Trump. Oh my gosh.
Slightly more tolerable for people. Hey, I never gave up. At least is at least giving that extra element to. We're not just kind of okay. Well, I like that he's wrecking trade. I like that he's passed tax cuts that are permanent for corporations, but completely disappear for regular people. Like that part I'm fine with. But but maybe he was going to not go far enough on some regulation or something that I wanted. I don't know what little flick off the desk that memo that they might have ran interference for. None of it is enough. None of it is enough to And had he done those things, those might have been the 10% of things that turned Republicans on him. Like they're not protecting anyone.
Really?
There apparently are. Because they're not doing this to save the country. They're doing this to protect the Republican Party from the damage that he might be doing. The idea that they care. I mean, at this point, that's an absurdity. So, in saying that, the anonymous person who published this their op-ed, I have a lot of problems with it. The primary being the first sentence, I am part of the resistance. That was literally, I am part of the resistance inside the Trump administration. Okay, first of all, no, you're not. You are by no means resisting this person. Right. You're like a bad volleyball, like beach volleyball player. Yeah, you got the tip up 80% of the time, and sometimes you eat the sand.
I'm feeling very attacked right now.
Yes. Well, all right. Don't take this personally. Take the stuff I say later personally.
We played volleyball one time.
Yeah, right. Well, you've got all the height on me. It's just not fair.
I'm never yelling, I got it again.
Yeah, right, because I'm just whizzing away, and you're just like, beep. So as we, kind of going through this, when this came out, I like a lot of people, kind of rushed to it to see what all the hubbub was, and the opening of it started with this kind of protective language about it. And personally, I don't know if you have any guesses on who it might be. I personally believe it is one of the people who has already denied.
Oh, yeah.
I also, while I do not support what they are doing and while I do not think this is a good way to govern, all the calls for them to come out, all these calls for them to make themselves public, I am not for that. Since they've already done this anonymously, I would like them to remain hidden and ratchet up his paranoia for as long as possible. It obviously drives him crazy, and when he gets angry or off-put, he is not on his game. He is not focused. He's not helping the Republican Party message for the midterms, and that helps. So I would rather have him mole hunting around his office like a maniac, looking at everybody with his twitch in his eye, like tapping everybody's chest for a wire.
And he's going to be campaigning more and more. He's just going to get out there and be like, and another thing.
Yeah, and it'll be one of those things where, like, it's not Dan Coates. Dan Coates, I brought Dan Coates with me. Is Dan here? Is Dan? Bring him up. Dan, are you wearing a wire? Are you wearing a wire? Dan's not wearing a wire. Okay, next. Who do we have? So the op-ed, for those of you who didn't read it, starts off with this one. It was like making me angry on purpose that this person was like, it's one of these, it's like a humble brag is what this is.
That's absolutely what it was.
At the same time, it's like, well, he's doing terrible things, but we're awesome, and half the time he's awesome, so leave him alone.
It was pretty awesome hearing Nicole Wallace lose her mind over this live.
Good Lord.
Because I just happened to tune in to Nicole Wallace on MSNBC, and she and who's her partner in crime, Steve
Kornacki? No. Which one? Steve Schmidt?
Steve Schmidt.
Oh, yeah, Steve
Schmidt.
Not a single person. That guy.
He could not have been angrier.
This is the most disgusting example of Republican politics. They have completely sold the American people. Right, yeah. I love Steve Schmidt. Bless his heart. He gets so red-faced, and I don't know if he,
we go to the same barber.
It doesn't look like a tan to me. It looks like Snowburn. I don't know where he is, but Steve Schmidt looks snowburned to me.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you can't say.
If I ever went outside, I'm sure I would get
snowburned because you might say the wrong thing on the radio. But here's the thing. So it opens with President Trump is facing a test to his presidency unlike any faced by a modern American leader.
Wait, it says that?
That's the opening line of the frigging way to prepare, by the way.
Well,
no.
Well, I've heard it read out loud so many times. People skip that line.
Yes, that they went straight to the he's a crazy person, which. Yeah, we know, but the opening line of it, President Trump is facing a test to his presidency unlike any faced by a modern American leader. Okay, first of all, what do you consider modern? The last two? Because obviously Nixon would qualify, and the man resigned after hiring people to break into the office of, the Democratic National Committee. And then, if you're considering the modern era, that technically qualifies for anything basically right after the Dust Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, anything
that was on TV is modern.
That's right. Yeah, anything since Kennedy, who was, I don't know, tested in a convertible. I'm just saying, there's elements of, like, every president has been.
I'm not a strong swimmer.
That's right. But, no, that's Ted. I'm talking about.
Oh, the other candidate.
John.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, this whole I've got it so tough, and then comparing himself with Abraham Lincoln. The whole, like, Honest Abe, they've done polling, and they've polling that I'm more popular than Honest Abe by the Republican Party. I'm more popular. Of course you're more popular in the modern Republican Party than Lincoln. He stopped slavery. The modern Republican Party would like to jumpstart it again. Of course they regret. Of course they don't like. They look at him as a stain on the modern republic. You can't court Charlottesville and still like Lincoln. They don't go together. And I mean, this is the party of John Wilkes Booth now to some degree.
Yeah.
Like they definitely harbor this sort of animosity towards the legacy of the Republican Party that led to the Civil Rights Act. They are definitely grinding against this and have been trying to, through legislation and certainly through padding the Supreme Court, making this push towards this. I'm already getting into the first break. This is how good. That's why it's so awesome to do this live, because it's so invigorating, so exciting. And I thank you guys for being here. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. And we're going to get into anonymous. We're going to get into a anonymous. Op-ed and the response out there. And I would love to hear, because we do have a mic here, and I guess we technically can take callers as well. I would like to hear if anybody has an idea who they think it might be, and if you have.
I'm going to keep my guess to myself. It's a popular guess.
Is it? All right. Well, that's a popular person, because I don't believe that that's true. Most people think that's who it is.
Yeah, because of the whole hashtag Lodestar thing.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because I don't know. That gaze looks pretty genuine. Never has the word gaze had a stronger, deeper meaning.
Oh, the poor break.
I'm just going to spend the break looking at Johnny Million the way Mike Pence looks at Donald Trump.
Are we on break now?
Yeah, no, we'll be back right after this. It's the House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, live from the House Cafe in Dekalb, Illinois.
All right, I'm going to start swearing.
Don't.
Hey, you mother.
No, we're there's some kids in the chat room. Yeah. Oh, we wish you could be here too, Julie.
Oh, Chicago.
And
before we get into that, also Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, so I'm gonna
R.I.P. Aretha.
Oh my God,
she was something special.
And let's see, it looks like Brett Kavanaugh, candidate for Supreme Court Justice, lied twice in 2004 and 2006 under oath. I agree, and I think he's lied multiple times. This hearing, there's no question that Brett Kavanaugh lied repeatedly during his. I mean, you got to know that the rig is in when it's called a confirmation hearing. You know what I mean? It's not called a vetting hearing.
And how much tap dancing do you have to do around the? Have you discussed the Mueller case with anybody?
Oh my God! Do you have anybody in mind or?
No, oh my God! You do.
I loved I always
Harris.
Living in California. I like Kamala Harris a lot. I fell in love with her when she was like, "Think carefully about your answer, sir."
Man.
Like that was so prosecutorial.
It was like when there's you see a cop in your rearview mirror and you haven't done anything wrong. I still felt like when she was questioning him, I was still like.
That made me nervous. Yeah. I saw a bunch of people like, she made me wonder if I'd called that law firm. Jeez, that was nervy. It's Bannon House setting up Pence. That's interesting. For Unclear Art is for Uncle Art. I see. There you go. Saying that I have a 2015 Lodestar half ton. I've never used Lodestar. I have a AAA, so I've never been in an accident.
Hi, this is Lodestar. Your presidency has crashed into a tree. We're not sending anyone to help right now.
I'm going to stay on the phone with you, though, just to tell you things you want to hear.
Check out the facial expressions when Harris asked the question. Oh, absolutely. You could see him kind of like starting his Herbert Lom twitch. And, he started to look like what was the drummer for Aerosmith? Joey Kramer, whenever Steven Tyler tries to fix
twitch in my right eye. How many times did we watch The Making of Pump?
Oh, so good. 30 seconds. We'll be back.
That's why I'm here. Aerosmith.
Wasn't Lodestar the lead in Spaceballs? Yeah.
Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the mega worldwide radio program with Hal Sparks.
I love him, even though he doesn't quite get it right. He gets everything else right, and he knows Chicago politics like nobody else does.
I get to see Dick Kay in person all the time.
So
it's insane.
awesome.
I grew up in the Chicago area, and I just remember this surly, angry Dick Kay on the political beat in NBC.
That's right.
He comes walking in. Hey, how are you guys
how you doing, Johnny? Hell yeah.
He's got a cane, which has to just be a weapon.
Yeah. So you're under the belief that Lodestar is a dead giveaway.
Yes.
And that it's either Pence or somebody in Pence's office.
Yeah.
But now there is an argument to be made, and this would fall into the I got to lay ground cover for myself so that when this presidency goes down, I don't get sucked into the vortex
I can say that
with it.
I was all happy with all the conservative things that happened. These are my bona fides.
And then I saw something illegal, and I had to step back in a very Jesus-y way, like the Lord would want me to do, anonymously in the New York Times.
Did you see that little sign?
Yes, I did. So I'll do Matt's trying to make me be a professional radio person right now. We're live at the House Cafe. Yay! 263 East Lincoln Highway in Dekalb, Illinois. If you're in the area, stop by. We're here for a couple hours after the show as well, and there'll be a little meet and greet, and we'll talk with everybody. We've got a mic set up, and we'll talk to people in a little bit from here too. It's like having our live callers in. And by the way,
have a coffee. Oh my God,
have a coffee. The coffee's fantastic.
Yeah, amazing.
Pepe's got the whole mad setup here. They got an array of bagels and food choices. They've got the cake.
They do have cake.
Yeah, it's the gay cake.
They have
pride layer cake with rainbow colors in it or whatever, which I have dubbed the cake, and it looks delicious. We highly recommend it. House Cafe is terrific, and everybody here has been wonderful to us, and they're certainly wonderful to our guests and it's great to see you guys come out again. It's amazing to us. Johnny and I are so flattered that you guys are here, and everybody in the chat room, we love you. Yeah, Julie in the chat room, who's one of our moderators as well. She's like, I'll be right there. From Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
Lodestar was my Russian porn star name in the 70s.
Like,
I'm just going to read jokes from the chat room.
Right, yeah, I thought Lodestar was something you got with a new Mercury SUV. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Hi, you've reached Lodestar. Have you banged your head against the glass? You're pronouncing anonymous. Very peculiar. Pull over to the side of the road. This is Lodestar.
I didn't subscribe. He would insist he has OnStar and not pay for it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, right. This is okay. So it opens.
We made it one line in.
Anomanish opens their op-ed with President Trump is facing to attest to his presidency unlike any other faced by a modern American leader, which is an absurdity. It's not just that the special counsel looms large or that the country is bitterly divided over Mr. Trump's leadership.
That's a sentence fragment.
Yeah, it is. Period. Or Another sentence fragment. Yeah. Or even that his party might well lose the House to an opposition hell-bent on his downfall. Okay, first of all.
Okay, first, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Guilty.
I am not hell-bent on the man's downfall. I just want his efforts to destroy the country to fail. It's one of those arguments like, well, he's the president. You don't want the president to fail. I want certain activities of his to fail if they would result in the completely undermining of the environment, of workers' protections, of people having insurance. Like I would like those things to fail. I don't want him to fall down a flight of stairs necessarily. I quit it. What? I don't. I don't wish that on anybody unless they're wearing one of those bubble suits and it'd be really funny. You know what I mean? Like one of those samurai outfits that you can run like, okay. We can all take turns pushing. He's going to be fine, but it's hilarious.
Definitely.
Or one of those inflatable, like the balls that open up around you that are inflatable that Jackie Chan used in Project A, or that I think was a prop in The Toy. Richard Pryor or whatever. Or was that just the Wonder Wheel? Right. Anyway, so if we could put him in one of those and roll him down a hill, that would be fine. As long as he's not physically harmed, but a little discombobulated. Maybe the irony is you'd probably roll him down a hill in one of those things, and he'd go, anonymous. Like it would like hit a reset button. Oh, I can't believe I've been so wrong. I'm going back to liberal Donald Trump from 1994. The dilemma, and this is where they get into where everybody started jumping in this. The dilemma, which he does not fully grasp. All right.
That's amazing.
Is that many of the senior officials in his own administration are working diligently from within to frustrate parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations. Now, I have a theory about this entire purpose of this thing is not to undermine Donald Trump in any particular way or act as some sort of check and balance. I think it's to protect the reputation of the Republicans going into the midterms and make this and basically distance an element and appeal to sort of independents and more conservative members who are like, look, he's giving us the Supreme Court. He's giving us the tax cuts. We'll manage everything else, still have faith in the Republican Party, and we'll carry this through. That's all this is about. This has nothing to do with protecting the country from his worst impulses. I honestly don't believe that they care. It is a sales pitch, most of all. And then they go, protecting diligently from within to frustrate parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations. I would know. I am one of them. Like, oh, for God's sake! Like just this whole like saluting yourself in the mirror. I would know. I'm one of them. I'm bearing your burden.
It's pretty self-congratulatory.
It's ridiculous, and it's with an ego like that, which is kind of like internal glorifying reflex. It's no wonder they work in the Trump White House. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of people who seek to be him ultimately, because there's nobody in there really admires him. They just seek to be him. It's like it's like a self-help program that's gone completely awry. You know what I mean? If you join me, you can flip houses full of cockroaches and with rotten foundations as well. You know, make $1 million selling houses to people that will collapse in a matter of weeks. You'll be out of town before the check clears. Yeah, it's good. So, and this is one. To be clear, ours is not the popular resistance of the left, and they put it in quotes. So now it opens with "I'm the resistance," but it's in quotes now that were a couple of phrases.
And he apparently got to write his own headline for this editorial too.
Oh yeah,
and that's not typical.
Well, I mean, Anonymous gets a lot of room to move. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if when they do the, sometimes New York Times does videos associated with the articles or whatever. I wonder if he's going to do it either with a puppet or against a blacked out screen, wearing a really bad Kellyanne Conway wig and like a nose and like Groucho glasses, going, "I am part of the resistance." And they're not going to distort his voice. He's just on mushrooms.
That's how he sounds.
Yeah, right. He's just,
I'm one of them.
Right. So, to be clear, ours is not the popular resistance of the left. Yes, this is true. You are the unpopular resistance. Yeah. You are not popular in any way. You lost the popular vote. You squeaked the Electoral College by 77,000 votes. Vote, everyone. All right, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Don't boo. Vote.
That's right.
Yeah. So he goes, we want the administration to succeed
and think that many of its policies have already made America safer and more prosperous.
That's a bummer.
And what they mean is racist and more of a gated community.
Yeah.
That's what they really that's what they mean when they say safer.
Well, safer is Muslim banned, and more prosperous is tax cut.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And of course,
and the immigration, like just separating all the
brooming brown people.
Yeah.
That's and that makes them feel safer, even if it technically doesn't. Even if the people that they're running out have a lower incidence of violent crime than people who are born here, they feel like if we get rid of some of those people, I at least feel safer while I'm being mugged by someone in my own family.
By some scary white dude.
Yeah, right. But we believe our first duty is to this country, and the president continues to act in a manner that is detrimental to the health of our republic. Now, tie those two sentences together.
Right.
And if anything exemplifies the bifurcation of thought within anybody who would work for Donald Trump and at the same time think that they're actually helping the United States. These two sentences break it down. And again, we got to take another break, but it says, we want the administration to succeed, and we think that many of his policies have already made America safer and more prosperous, but we believe our first duty is the country, and the president continues to act in a manner that is detrimental to the health of our republic. Like, how do you carry those two thoughts in your head without you having kind of an elephant man bifurcation of your skull that just weighs it in two different directions? It is maniacal.
They cannot coexist.
Yes, and this cognitive dissonance in the Republican Party is now pathological in this regard. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. We're at the House Cafe in DeKalb.
Lincoln Highway.
Live with 100% more Johnny Million. We'll be right back.
Ben Jarofsky.
Indeed, I want to hear from you folks. I want to talk some politics. Yesterday, man, I was just talking Rahm. We can talk some more Rahm. I know Dee's got a little trick up his sleeve about
trade deficit. Yeah. Hal, and register if you moved and never voted before. Absolutely. If I can vote over here. And Julie says, if I can vote over here in Germany, what's your excuse? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, Stephen from the Gold Coast is actually online. We're gonna, and he's got to make it down here. Right? Believe in some teen, even if you have to. Oh man, wow, that's gross.
Just do it.
Just do it. Is that her that said that for real, or is that the Melania double, the Melania bot? Melania bot 6,000.
I bet there's no way she said this.
Oh, no, of course not.
There's a Melania bot?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Thank you, Drift. You can call them Drift Notes. There's no Trumpers. The Neil Armstrong movie doesn't have a lot of flag waving. You're thinking of The Triumph of the Will. Oh. If I'm impeached, yeah, that's right. Vote, because if you don't, it'll be your fault. Like, oh, boy. Anonymous is the slime by Frank Zappa. I'm a tool of the government and industry, too. Yeah. It's Melanie. That's right, Julie. It's pronounced Melanie. Yes. Absolutely. Look at that. Raffle tickets for the Andy Horowitz show. Andy Horowitz show. Yes. They have to be. Oh, okay. Cool. Well, this only happens right. Look at that.
Raffle tickets free?
Are the raffle tickets free? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You just got to fill it out, and we'll just make a draw. If everybody has one and they filled it out, you just win. It's a free raffle just for showing up. This could be awesome. 220 watching, 35 likes, thumbs up to the stream, guys. Helps with exposure. Absolutely. Can't stop lying.
Can't stop lying. That's L-I-O-N.
Mm-hmm. Because he's an actual lion. So he's a can't stop lying. Get it?
He's an actual lion?
Yeah.
He's advanced.
Yes. What?
Is it lion?
Yeah.
On the computer?
He is. The typing is amazing. Yeah. It just shreds a keyboard every show. But he's always
the meme of the guy sneaking up on the tiger. There's a dude, he sneaks up on a tiger and like tickles it, and it wheels around and then rolls over on its back.
Oh yeah,
like,
right.
Oh, you got me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god.
Oh.
Fire.
Just kill me.
Yeah.
Right.
This is so neat.
Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah, we keep marveling about this, guys, but we really appreciate you guys being here. I want to say that during the break.
This is really
awesome.
neat.
This is really nice. Yeah.
Thank you. No, thank you guys. This has been spectacular. Look, it's starting to spread. No, thank you. You know what? No. Wreck the gear thing.
And that was the last time we were invited.
It's Saturday. Johnny should like Can't Stop Lying. That's right. How's your crowd? It's a solid crowd. We're doing.
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. We'll rotate around and show you the audience in just 1 second.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Woo! Welcome back. We're at the House Cafe in DeKalb, Illinois, live. Our second live performance show, broadcast, all of the above of the House Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I love being in the same room with you.
Oh, ditto. And this has been going on since the 80s.
Yes.
To quote Steve Martin. Yeah. So by the way, people here who are actually at the House Cafe are filling out free raffle tickets, and we're going to give away tickets to see Andy Borowitz live, the Make America Not Embarrassing Again tour at the Chicago Theater, Friday, September 21st, 7 p.m. And stay up to date with the latest in politics. Please follow us on social media, WCPT 820, of course, at Hal Sparks, and, of course, at JMillion on Twitter as well. And if you need all the contest rules, WCPT820.com. All good? Okay, and we're live at the House Cafe, which is at 263 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb, Illinois.
Yay.
We'll be hanging for a little while after the show, and then, of course, I have to drive to Milwaukee. I'm at Potawatomi Casino tonight. And
Madison tomorrow.
Madison tomorrow. You're going to be at Johnny Million's going to come up and will you come up on stage and
what?
And MC or something, or like introduce the show?
I could introduce you. Would anybody know?
Sure. Yeah. Madison's a good. We did Sexy Liberal up there. It's one of the first. That was almost the launch show for Sexy Liberal was doing Madison. That's right.
I was thinking of doing this kind of comedy where, like, you bring a guitar on stage and, like, you do funny songs. I don't think anybody's ever done that before.
No, that's a new thing. You should try that or whatever. Yeah. Song parodies. And nobody's ever done song parodies before. Yeah. There's a whole niche there that could be named after you. Nobody else has really made a name in song parodies.
Did you see Weird Al accepting
that guy.
Star?
Right, that would run.
He was accepting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he asked the people, please not pickaxe his star, even though it's all the thing. Unless he does something completely heinous and villainous, then, well, okay.
Yeah, right, yeah. He's such a good dude. Yeah. I've known Al for years. I met him on Talk Soup. And he came on as my guest, and I brought my Weird Al in 3D album when I got to meet him. And I was like, I don't usually get autographs from people because it's this weird kind of distancing act when you're supposed to be on sort of on the same working level at the very least. But I had to with Weird Al because I'd had this album since I was 12 or something like that. So I bring it, and he wrote on it, "To Hal, the greatest friend I've ever had." Weird Al, like first day I ever met him, and I've known him for years, and he's such a good soul across the board. That being said, let's get back to people without souls. So the not my judgment. According to Anonymous, the root of the problem. This is the one thing that really stood out, and we actually, we do have callers on the line, so we're going to go to one in a second. The root of the problem is the president's amorality. Anyone who works with him knows he is not moored to any discernible first principles that guide him in his decision making. Like that in and of itself.
This is why I'm thinking Pence. There's so much like the moral talk is what's getting me.
Right. Yeah. The kind of the disgruntled evangelicals, right. The part that are peeling off now, which for some reason none of them do. Now, again, there's always been this kind of, it's not lying if you do it for Jesus. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's okay. A little bit of subterfuge in the name of the Lord. A lot of great religious leaders in the Christian faith have done this, like Pat Robertson when he was pretending to send food and supplies to Africa when he was really just putting in a row of boxes to cover the shampoo he was selling. Like that kind of thing. Making profits for, you know about that?
No.
Yeah, it's a true story. So Pat Robertson did this whole thing like, send me your money and help us buy food to give to the poor people. And so people sent in their money. And what he did was he used that money to purchase shampoo, conditioner, and cleansing fluids of all sorts. I don't know, whatever his, just literally for the hotels in Africa, and then he flew a plane over there, filmed it, like here we are loading this stuff on, but it was only a 1 layer thick of the stuff that they were of food and stuff, and everything behind it was stuff he was selling there, and they got busted because it was one of those moments where apparently Jesus was so angry at this that some of the boxes tipped over or something. We're like, 1 second.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
It's, poor people. I mean, you can't eat dirty. You don't want frizzy hair. You need conditioner when you're having your rice with no water. We thought of everything.
What gets me is that, like, when I don't like feeling like I'm just bashing a belief system or anything like that, because we need conservative ideas to make sure that liberal ideas still make sense. It's a real conversation to have. What kills me is the hypocrisy. It's convincing everybody to vote against their best interest and to say it's for you when really it's for them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, conservative versus liberal in many ways used to be kind of the argument of science versus art. What's more important to life? And the reality is both are equally important.
And there's an art to science.
Yeah, science might keep you alive, but art gives you something to live for, And there's an element of value in both of these, our experiential life versus our material existence. And the conservative would be like, okay, look, if we get too carried away with these mushrooms and these little tabs with Mickey Mouse on them, we'll all lose sight of the fact we'll have people driving across the double yellow line. We can't have that, Right. And so they kind of rein life back in, whereas the liberals are like, look, if we stick too closely to rules that are just arbitrary or whatever, we don't even know why we're in existence, and we need to test the boundaries of that. And we also need to be more accepting of people who are born outside the lines,
right.
and help them to join in and be a functioning part of a society. And that used to have a normal tension to it for a very long time, and until basically the Republican Party decided that the best way to control the society was through a seizing of the Supreme Court, and that's where the best money goes. If you try to put money into a congressperson, every 2 years you got to do that. A senator's a little bit more of it gives you 6 years. It's a better return on your investment. Presidents are about the same thing. You get a good 8 years out of a president if you seed it well with money, and you'll get a lot of tax cuts and those kind of things. But ultimately, your best dollar, you want the judges because they're permanent. That is on a return on investment for corporate interests and for religious conservatives. That's the best place for your money to go. Is guarantee and unfortunately, liberals and progressives within the sound of my voice, we have abdicated that control to them through this, I don't know if I'll vote this time around because harumph. And that in and of itself, anytime when anybody starts saying, Kavanaugh, the Republicans have put up this guy Kavanaugh and he's awful and all these kind of things, while it may be materially true, we cannot abdicate our responsibility in having made this happen and not letting it happen again. This idea, Kavanaugh is as much our fault as it is the proactive action of the Republicans. Those among us who did not vote or on a whim voted for Trump because butter emails nonsense, or who simply just who got lazy during a turn or whatever, that's what happens. And until we have a margin where liberals and progressives can count on a margin in the government of 60% or more, this bifurcation of ideas and kind of tea partying of ourselves or eating there's an illusion that was created in many ways in the late 90s. The late 90s sort of determined the liberal world in a way that 9/11 determined the Republican world, is that they define themselves now based on the world is full of a monster that we have to fight at all times. 9/11 was the defining. It's what turned the Dennis Millers of the world from being kind of marginally just kind of rich people conservatives who didn't want to pay taxes and had kind of a disdain for anyone on welfare and were kind of creepy and annoying, but not really venomous, to this, oh my God, we're being attacked, we need a pit bull. Nonstop, to determine. They were defined by that moment. There was an element of, before gay marriage became legal and stuff, that where I believe liberals and progressives got slightly lazy in this. Life is kind of settled. Life is, we've kind of fought these fights and we've won these things, and we can kind of coast for a little while. And there's we call it civilization for a reason. It's an ongoing prospect, and we could slip back into it at any given time. And people, especially people who what's important to them is the inclusion of outsiders and people who are marginalized. You have to understand that there are new batches of those people made all the time. And unless we're in the constant act of making sure that those people have space made for them and they're included, they will be cast aside by either the full-on negation of their existence by the Republicans and the modern conservative movement and the rudder push of liberals who have forgotten to care because they think their problem is solved. And that can't be. That is, for me, that is the mission of not just this election and certainly the lesson of the last one, but every single one until there is a nonstop 60-seat majority in the, of Democrats in this Senate. Because that's the only thing. Because you can have a conversation, liberal to conservative, within the Democratic Party and legit. People who are legitimately conservative go, okay, wait a minute, maybe we need to test these ideas before we implement them. And other people go, sometimes you got to, run before you walk because you only know if you can do a flip if you get up to speed. You know what I mean? You can't half-ass a backflip. You got to commit, There is no, all right, let's do this in stages. Sometimes that's required. And so that tension is important or whatever. The Republicans have just, I agree with what Obama said last time. They have just kind of careened off into the other world. We got to take a break. But when we come back, Steve from the Gold Coast. That's what we're going to do. We're live at the House Cafe in Dekalb, Illinois. You guys are awesome. I got on a rant already, and we missed this. And are you periscoping? Live. Oh, you're Instagram living?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And we're, of course, live on the YouTube channel, HalSparks.tv. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Every vote counts there, too. We'll be back.
Experience a full mind, body, and spirit approach to living.
But Trump gave me $20 more in each paycheck. Yeah, that's cool. Carl, you're right. The first two. Okay, I'm going to roll back so I can see what some of the chat room are saying. Carl's saying the projection kills me. We want to save Medicare. The Democrats want to destroy Medicare. I loved when Trump was like, they want to use socialism to destroy your Medicaid and Medicare. Like, they're kind of actually that's a socialist program. And there'll be a back and forth about whether social democrat is actually a definitive name for what is becoming a label. Yeah, democratic socialist, but ultimately that's just, it's another phrase for, a capitalist American who believes in social safety net. That's what that really is. It's not what it means overseas. And the labels for those parties mean different things to different people. And that's why, because the Republicans, they just, once they, democratic socialists, they don't listen to the word democratic. And then, they just hear socialist. And a lot of Democrats are like, yeah, we believe in fire departments and police and a standing army and Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security and welfare and, those kind of.
The show does not end during the commercials.
No, it does not.
It is
it's
like
ongoing.
this all the time.
This is for those of you who just listen on the radio, this is what happens on the YouTube channel if you listen that way.
Going.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I can continue to both talk to the chat.
Hold on. Don't send them away from the radio.
Why not? They can be in the chat room and
right.
listen at the same time.
Yes.
They can do that. They can
Our
talk
sponsor messages are important.
Very important.
You should listen to them.
You hate our troops.
Yeah, EO is yelling at me. You hate our troops, right?
Yeah,
that's right. That's one. The ongoing thing is support our troops. And we need the government can't. The government can't do anything right, but we need a giant military, which is the largest governmental expenditure that exists.
TV News at 9.
Government employees can't do anything.
This is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Welcome back to the House Cafe in DeKalb, Illinois. It's me and Johnny Millions.
House Cafe.
Huh?
Did you say Hal's Cafe?
I said the House Cafe.
Okay, all right.
But it's an easy mistake to make with a name like mine.
It's kind of like Hal's Cafe.
It is today for a time being. Whatever. It's the House Cafe because we got a nice crowd here and we're all gathered around and it's kind of a home. It's nice. We have Steve from the Gold Coast is on the line with it. I'm going to actually try and take a call. The heavy lifting of HSRPM. Yeah. Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey!
Few points.
Go for it.
The Republican efforts to repress democracy in America notwithstanding, I believe that demographics are destiny, and that sooner or later we're going to get a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and someone in the White House who is unabashedly a Democrat. Now, what that's going to create is a constitutional crisis because you're going to have a court that is in no way, shape, or form reflective of what the people want in this country. Mm-hmm. And they're going to strike down and strike down and strike down legislation after legislation, and that's going to bring about a crisis that we haven't seen in about 80 years because the court isn't going to reflect what the people want. And what do you do in a situation like that? Because we don't really have that other than packing the court, an alternative. And, of course, we decided that 9 people are the number that we're going to be allowed to sit on the court. So,
right.
You can't start packing the court as FDR suggested. Secondly, as far as Anonymous is concerned, I think it's no wonder that, that they had these qualifiers because, for people who don't know it, they're individuals who made a career out of politics. And this is someone, obviously, who's a Republican. And they need the qualifiers. They hope to have a life after this administration.
Because they know they're going to get caught.
Within the
right.
Right, exactly. I mean, even Deep Throat. 30 years later, they still, we found out who Deep Throat was.
Right.
And sooner or later, this person's going to be revealed, especially in today's day and age of social media.
Right.
And lastly, I think that, the response to Anonymous is indicative of exactly the problems articulated in Woodward's book and in Anonymous and so forth, and that instead of sticking to the fake news narrative, which this White House loves, that they're lying to you, that they're the enemy of the people, which was initially something that the right was arguing. No, this is fake. The New York Times can't be trusted. Of course, they're a segment of the Democratic Party, and represent them. So they just made this up. And then, rather than sticking to that, which was a pretty good narrative following the existing narrative, because there are people who actually believe that. And they decided, no, we need an investigation. Well, why in God's name would you need an investigation if you don't believe it's real?
Right.
Because it's not real.
It goes to what I was saying, I've said before, like you can't leak a lie. Right. There's no such thing as leaking a lie. You're just lying.
This whole thing's phony.
You can only leak the truth. So the minute Trump says they're a leaker, then he's admitting what they said is true. Anytime he calls Comey a leaker, that means it's true. And the same thing with whoever this person is. He's like they're a coward and we need to root them out. Well, if they're not saying the truth, then who cares? And that's the wall he runs up again. You're absolutely right.
Right, and you have an individual who is talking to a certain segment of our population, about a third of Americans, and when he talks about polling, by the way, just as an aside, I have no idea what he's talking about, given
Neither does he.
Recent polling numbers are the lowest of any modern American president.
Yep. He claimed that the higher he claimed that his disapproval was his approval rating. He literally last week, he was like, we got numbers, no one believes these numbers. I'm like, yeah, because they're not believable. They're unbelievable.
He really said that?
Yes, he was like, we got, it's 48% or whatever, and that's his disapproval. It was 46%. We've got 46%. Nobody's had numbers like that. It was like, it's your disapproval rating, dude. You have a 26% approval rating, and he was just ignoring that for the bigger number. I mean, he's doing basically with his polls what he did with the financing of his building. Like how much money am I in debt? $6 billion. Yeah. I'm worth $6 billion to somebody. They were dumb enough to lend it to me.
How many floors are in this building?
Yeah, right. Say again?
When you point that out to people, their response is that, these are the same people who got the election wrong when it came to polling. So, okay, well, then fine. Then offer me up a poll that was authorized by the Trump administration. He's the president of the United States. He's not running for dog catcher.
Right.
He can certainly afford a poll. The Republican Party can afford a poll. Give me an alternative poll, but there is none.
Right.
You know,
the Fox News polls are not favorable.
The Fox News polls look actually pretty terrible, and it's fun to watch them. They throw them up and then they yank them right back down again. They're like, let's look at the it's like they barge in on him in the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Doesn't anybody knock?
Right. I'm tweeting in here.
Yeah, Fox loves to do he's up from 34 to 36. Well, that's an improvement.
Yeah.
Okay, so they focus on the improvement.
Because we asked Ainsley right before we went on the air. She's won.
Yeah.
And Steve Ducey, we didn't ask him to.
Poor Ainsley.
Oh, boy.
Exactly. Forget the fact that it's still 1 out of 3 Americans.
Right. And that only 1/3 of Americans, sort of approve of what he's doing, and then attach that to what our mental health issues are in the country, or the lack of education, or people who have been systematically disenfranchised from any kind of genuine working structure for so long that they're almost driven mad by how much they don't feel a part of society, and they, it's no surprise that they basically are roosting on this scarecrow and calling it home. Appreciate the call, Steve. I want to grab one more call before we get to the end. It's always good to hear from you. Next time you have to show up, because we're here. We're at the House Cafe in DeKalb. Drive out here, Steve. Come on. We all want to see you. Instead of just tooling around the Gold Coast in your Porsche on your Wall Street cell phone. The big giant one that gives you a brain tumor.
He's got the box.
Yeah, right. Just the big. You can get those again now. They have they have new ones, but the new technology, but the same old box. I kind of want one. I mean, you can't use them in traffic. You'll get busted unless you duct tape it to your head.
I'd like to see
hey,
that.
it's hands-free,
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, awesome. So let's grab another caller. We got Donald in Aurora. That's cool. Hey, Donald in Aurora. Yeah.
Hi. I've been watching him on all these campaigns, and he brings up this op-ed. He's using this op-ed to discredit the book that Bob Woodward made. Mm-hmm. He's also using it to discredit the New York Times. Mm-hmm. If they want to look for the person that's behind this, you don't have to look any further than Donald Trump and his staff. Mm-hmm. They concocted this conspiracy. That's the way I look at it. And what better cover do they have? They used a lodestar thing in there to make it seem authentic.
To throw mud on Mike Pence so that you're not getting out from under me, Mikey. I got you locked in, buddy.
He's doing this. This is perfect. He does stuff like this all the time.
Yeah.
It also supports his claims of a dark state,
deep state, the derp state, right?
Derp. Yeah. To undermine his presidency. He is behind it. They don't have to look. He's got us all buffaloed.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. In some level, I'm split on that thought, and there's two reasons. One is I absolutely don't put this past the Donald Trump of 1994. You know what I mean? This seems like in the calling up as John Barron and faking his own, or the calling Forbes and pretending his numbers are higher, literally haranguing the people at Forbes to be continually added to the Forbes 100, even though he absolutely does not qualify. But on the other side, I don't see him operating these days anyways in that kind of a Machiavellian way. He's just not holding it. Huh?
Poor
if
John
it works in
Malkovich.
his favor, it would, and they got some flunky that brings this to them. They know that darn well that the New York Times is not going to reveal the person that they selected to bring this information. This is a setup. I could feel it in my bones.
All right.
But
well,
that's okay. Everybody's got their own opinion.
That's right. And if you're right, I'm totally in your camp about it. We're from your mouth to Pence's ears.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the call. We have. It's always good. He has the best Chicago accent of any caller
it's
we
a
have.
good one.
That is fantastic. Not since Dennis Franz's fake New York accent have we had a Chicago caller call in more than
who needs callers? We've got all these people.
I know. We're going to have, and in the next hour, we're going to have people talk here because we got a mic set up. People can, chime in, give us their opinion, and keep it high and tight. There's a bunch of people here, so
to speak.
Yeah. What?
Huh?
But when I have, there's a lot of debate back and forth about whether this is some sort of, Machiavellian trick or whether he is, and it's not.
Look, even they remember my joke.
Yeah, Johnny, go to joke, fantastic.
It's my go-to.
Yeah,
Machiavellian.
Yeah, right.
Being John Machiavelli.
But this idea, I don't doubt that it's actually someone in there. I just don't think they have the innocent. Motive that they are pretending to have. I just don't buy that part of it. That to me, it just seems, and I think that's where Donald's coming from. It looks like like counter programming. It looks like a disinfo campaign that's meant to actually sell like. Nobody buys Coca-Cola anymore just to drive like Coke fans to buy 10 Cokes that day. And, it's a strategy.
The NRA is going bankrupt.
That's right. Yeah. We need money and no one's buying assault rifles anymore. It's so sad. Ever since, Trump got everybody feels so safe. They're not buying 30-round clips anymore. We're going to go broke. And everybody's like, oh, I feel bad. That's right.
I'm going to donate.
I'm going to go down there and get we need to buy some 30-round clips for Trump, eh? Yeah, 30. But this that kind of counter program is like reverse psychology aspect. I don't doubt that there's some of those people operating, but this thing seems so peppered with ego that I actually think that they genuinely believe what they're saying. Because, and again, this will be a debate, we can even have about people. But the same thing goes with, like, Trump. This idea that he's a narcissist, I don't buy it. I think he has low self-esteem. I think a true narcissist wouldn't care what people think. Totally. Yeah, we're wrapping. I'll be back right after this. Okay, I got to take a break. I only got 15 seconds left. I know. I was moving towards a certain point, man. I saw it. I'm looking. I've got a clock, too. All right, now we've run out of time. You happy? All right, we'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, live from the House Cafe in Dekalb, Illinois. Come on down and see us. We'll be here for even an hour after the show.
Hi, this is Bill Press. When you get to work, don't leave us in the car. Stream us live at WCPT820.com and listen all day.
Can we dial the return down while we're, So, folks, if we want to, during the top of the next segment, if anybody wants to kind of, chime in on any of these kind of things on Kavanaugh, on which is where I want to head next, and I do want to address some of what's going on there. There's also a couple of other stories that are kind of, did you check? There you go. A couple of other stories that kind of have skated by, while Kavanaugh's laid ground cover, and Anonymous has created some issues, and not the least of which is this, with Papadopoulos being sentenced, and him rolling back on some of his story, huh? Right. Yeah. But, again, they're basing it on, is he a physical danger? At 14 days, he's a convicted felon who's no longer going to be a trusted source, B, not be able to get a job in certain quarters, in so far as government work and those kind of things, which is a preferred thing. And then he's got a year of probation. Like, I don't have and he did roll on some stuff. I have debates in my head about whether or not when he's rolling on people, whether Mueller's team will give somebody a false sense of security. Like, yeah, he didn't tell us all that much. And so everybody will go, whoo, and then start blabbing, which I think is a possibility with this crowd. So I don't rule out that they'll go, yeah, this guy told us a bunch of stuff. It was awesome, but this guy didn't really say anything. And they're like, okay, we're in the clear. I don't have to worry about this anymore. Let your guard down. And with Misfoot, the guy who allegedly gave the information to Papadopoulos, who has disappeared, and the DNC believes he is dead, which is like a really crazy twist on this whole story that just kind of has come out in the last, because the DNC is trying to serve him with papers, and they've sued the Republican Party, the Trump campaign, the Russians for hacking the election. They also tried to serve papers on this guy who initially set up the contact between Papadopoulos and the Russians and the Trump campaign, and that guy's nowhere to be found. He was in Italy, and now they think he's dead. They've tried to find him, and he's not showing up, and they don't think he's that good at hiding. So they're fairly certain that the Russians snuffed him out. And that's, playing on this level, I don't put that push past the Russians at all. They've obviously got a history of this kind of behavior. the question is who's okay with it. That's the concerning part. It's not surprising the Russians will do somebody like this. The question is who will let it slide in our country, and that becomes the.
I was just reminded that.
Yes.
What does Alex Jones feel about being finally banned from Twitter?
Infotainmentwars.com. You can go to infotainmentwars.com. We've just don't forget to buy our penis pills and our freedom seeds. Don't confuse the two, though. I've had a couple. They're not suppositories. I just want you to know that the penis pills are not freedom seeds. Don't push those into the front. They do not work. Trust me, I know. I'm just nothing works below my belly button at this point. Alex Jones is not having it. We do have the documents. Let me tell you something. But I am a man. I drink red wine. I eat cake. I like Wallace, and you need people to know.
Could you kick Marco Rubio's ass?
I could hit Marco Rubio so hard that his weird comb over flap would just lean up like this and then shut like a trunk lid on a 57 Chevy at high speed. I don't know what I'm talking about. He does have that weird. Who is this guy? I don't even know who this guy is.
He does. Have
he knows who he is.
Yeah, but he had a good incredulous look, though.
Oh yeah. Well, he was doing that because it would drive Alex Jones crazy.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't because he didn't know.
Imagine how many people who hate Marco Rubio who confront him on a daily basis. He's got to be able to roll his eyes by now.
Oh yeah, where they turn like an old Warner Brothers cartoon. Yeah. They can dislocate his eyeballs and roll them completely.
If I don't know
how many, from the bottom.
A lot of you guys are pretty savvy on Twitter, but the combination of following Marco Rubio and John Fugelsang trolling Marco Rubio every time he posts a Bible quote,
right,
is mwah.
His choice.
It is so great.
And the idea that anybody in these guys quotes Bible verses. Because, we've talked about this. That's what taking the Lord's name in vain literally means.
Right.
I've mentioned this before, and I've talked about it on Twitter. But taking the Lord's name in vain in terms of biblical study does not mean swearing. It doesn't mean using the word as a swear. It means pretending to be pious and saying you are a person of God and acting the exact opposite. That's what taking their name in vain means. It means acting contrary but using the name to cover for your crimes, which would really be the horrible part. Just exclaiming Jesus Christ when you've hit your thumb with a hammer and you're like, I'm not swearing, I'm calling for help. As what my Uncle Philip used to say, I'm not swearing, I'm calling for help.
I had to be a relative.
Yeah.
I know it, yeah.
But, what it is saying that you are, it is what Catholic priests do.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Plus-face little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Okay, first of all, any guesses on, welcome back. Yes, we are live at the House Cafe. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, chat room, by the way. I'm going to roll through and talk to you guys as well. Alex Jones is, and by the way, a couple of years ago, I bought infotainmentwars.com.
I remember when I heard Alex Jones
Yeah, that's
for the
right.
first
We were
time.
we're going to turn that into a thing. I gotta dust that off now that he's been kicked off of everything.
What's he going to do?
I can fill the void.
You can help.
That's right.
I just saw that James Adomian is posting as him.
Oh, wow.
Posting videos about how he feels about being banned from the internet.
Right, yeah. I feel like I'm going to explode, which is all the time anyways. And for those of you like Richard Hunter, who filled in for me when I was in China for one of the weeks, who's awesome.
Woo!
He and I both were on Alex Jones' show because Richard knew Alex back in the day from being in Austin, back when he was just basically a 9/11 truther and kind of like a fluoride guy. He was really early on. That's really what it was. He was like, wow, there's a lot of money to be made in this whole coast to coast thing, but I need my own niche, fluoride, right? So. Anyway, so we went on his show, and over the course of being on the show, I managed to make him admit that that Obama wasn't evil, which was a huge step forward. That's a big one. He has since recanted that thought. And Richard made him admit that the Affordable Care Act or health insurance for everybody would actually be a good thing, and that was amazing. We made and between breaks. Like we've been talking to you guys during the break. We talked to the chat room during the break. When we go to break, we're still the same person. I think you would argue. Would you guys say that, like during the break, I'm the same person I am on air, right? Okay.
I take my wig off.
Yeah, Johnny's completely different though. He puts his pants back on. I don't know what that's about. It's really that's why we had to have a drape on this table after the last show. Didn't realize we were going to be on a stage, and we didn't want to Fox and Friends you like they do with the ladies on Fox and Friends. Like, hey, here's a great idea for a network that's actually been shut down because of sexism, and we've lost 2 leaders at our place for sexism. Let's make the woman sit in the middle in a mini skirt while the 2 dudes sit on either side of her and just creep. Okay, never mind. Anyway,
I owe Pepe a chair after this. Sorry,
that's right.
Pepe.
So in doing, in kind of looking at how the Republicans have kind of moved to this conspiracy world of the Alex Joneses of the world, because they recognized in a lot of ways there's a lot of money in it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When you've got televangelists selling prepper food, it's no surprise that this is a market, and they've all moved to this market because these people are gullible, have weirdly expendable income, obviously aren't spending their money on things like books. So, I can't buy books. I need to fill my cellar with beans, that kind of thing. What am I going to plant after the zombies come? And by zombies, I mean brown people. You know what I mean? Like, clearly, they're speaking in code about, the zombies, right? So the zombies are those lazy people who I can't say because, it's
not proper.
The people from the camp, you can't even. The Republicans are like, you can't even say Merry Christmas to some, to 4 Hasidic Jews after sundown on a Friday. You can't even, what's this country coming to? You can't even, you can't even, you have to say Happy Holidays just because Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's are vaguely in the same time frame. Yeah. We don't actually give thanks to the Lord anymore. This is a football holiday. I'm not including this in Jesus' birthday. That's sacrilege. So, by the way, we're at the House Cafe in DeKalb, Illinois. We're live. House Sparks Radio program, mega worldwide. And I was kind of getting to the point of do you know what song? That's a Jane Child song that is in that first in that coming back break. That or whatever. Who's wonderful, still around, great keyboard player and a wonderful songwriter. And do you know all the quotes? Do we know where all the quotes come from?
I know that there's a lot of Army of Darkness. There's some Big Lebowski.
Yeah, that's the first one. Second hour
there's some Indiana Jones.
No, but you are right. It is Harrison Ford, but it's Blade Runner, which of course is my favorite movie. Yeah, it's when he's trying to call up Rachel, and she hangs up on him.
Oh, right.
And then of course from Dragnet.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that Rat-Faced Little Pipsqueak?
Yeah, the damn puss-faced little pimp stick.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Pimp stick?
Man, we can technically cite you for swearing at us like that. Oh, yeah? Says who, Flatfoot? Says me. Says whatever.
The movies that you embrace are just amazing.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful thing. I want to say this. So there are a couple of stories that as all this smokescreen is happening, are there is some element of, if I thought these people had a better grip on what was going on, I would think that they were using all these, the smoke of the anonymous op-ed and the kind of generic flailing on Twitter that the president does all the time to cover for this stuff, the real machinations underneath or whatever, to cover for Kavanaugh's, draw attention away from that. Which
the wagging the dog.
Definitely some of that going on. But there was a story this week. I mean, we followed through on a couple of things. And one of these stories stood out in a very weird way because if you think about stuff that the Trump administration is doing, you really don't factor in stuff like this. And this is from the New York Times. Trump administration discussed coup plans with rebel Venezuelan officers. So the Trump administration.
From today.
Yeah, this is from today. The Trump administration, it's been going on for the last couple of weeks. This story's been building, and I've seen a couple of trickles in of it, whatever. The Trump administration held secret meetings with rebellious military officers from Venezuela over the last year to discuss their plans to overthrow President Nicolas Maduro, according to American officials, and former Venezuelan military commander who participated in the talks. Establishing a clandestine channel, apparently this is the only way these people can talk to world leaders, is back channels. I want to back channel to everyone. I want to back channel like I have with Melania, where we pretend not to talk. Establishing of a clandestine channel with coup plotters in Venezuela was a big gamble for Washington, given its long history of covert intervention across Latin America. Many in the region still deeply resent the United States for backing previous rebellions, coups, and plots in countries like Cuba, Nicaragua, Brazil, and Chile, and for turning a blind eye to the abuses military regimes committed during the Cold War. Yeah, you know, those things like the Obama administration started dialing back over the course of it, and everybody pretended that he wasn't doing. Like the rules of engagement in using drone strikes and military action that the Obama administration said, okay, we recognize that at times we're going to have to take military action in these places. At times, the dangerous stuff's going to pop up, but we're going to do everything we can within our capabilities to mitigate the civilian deaths, to mitigate the damage done to the infrastructure, to mitigate hitting anybody who isn't a direct threat to something. We're going to do everything we can. And as soon as Trump got in, rolled them all back, just dumped them immediately. 80% more civilian deaths from drone strikes in the first year of the Trump presidency than in the entire 8 years of the Obama administration. 8 years to 1. And do you think in the second year of the Trump administration that number has somehow dialed back? No, they've just found other places to continue that level of violence. And that's one of the things that people, when you let go of the reins and you're not voting or you're saying, I'm just not inspired, and all those things that Obama brought up yesterday, where you're like, butter emails and that kind of nonsense, what you're actually acquiescing, what you're giving away is not just the obvious, like the Supreme Court, not, the obvious 24 million people in danger of losing their health care and all the ramifications, but also these administrative decisions and behaviors that cost people lives. Anybody who tells me that if Hillary Clinton had gotten into office, children would have been separated permanently from their families is a madman, is an insane person. There is no way that would have happened. And by saying it doesn't matter who's in office, all the parties are the same or whatever, that lazy, unreflective, maniacal thought is what puts those people in danger. And we have to, as voters in a participatory democracy, take responsibility for when that doesn't happen. And that's why the midterms this year are probably the most important. We hear these things about the elections in our lifetime, but in this particular sense, if Donald Trump is not reined in by at least one of the houses turning, and the Republicans don't recognize that there's no ramifications, if these houses don't turn, can you imagine throw off the reins? These horses are wild.
So legitimized.
This will be permission from the public to turn this loose. And if 80% more civilians have been killed in 1 year in drone strikes and in the Trump presidency, before that happened, before the midterms, imagine the midterms not going our way. Imagine there not being a blue wave, because if it's one vote, if the margin is one Republican in the House, he will still say it was a red wave and he brought it back from the brink, and everybody said it was going to be a blue wave and he ended it. And this is the American people standing up and saying that they want more of what he's doing, and that means more family separations. That means more Muslim bans. That means more women's rights curtailed. That means more corporate tax breaks that are permanent. And that means not only forget about those things. This also means that the president will look to this and say there is no mandate for liberal ideas. Because, again, this goes back to the blue state, safe county idea. That when people go, well, it's not going to affect the vote where I am. It's not going it's electoral college where I am. It's, I know my district's going to go for this person. But your votes stack. And that mandate, that stack, is what puts the fear of God in the Republican Party and says, oh, there's a lot of people for women's rights. There's a lot of people for gay rights. But when people sit back and go, my county's going to go, I don't have to vote in my state because it's automatically going to go that way, what it does is chip away at the mandate. And it's not a small number. We're not talking about 1,000 votes here and there. When the people who think that way are in the 15, 25, 50,000 range of voters in states like California, even in Texas. Texas could have gone purple years ago, but for this idea of people who do the opposite. Well, it's going to go red anyways. Why should I even bother to show up? My vote's wasted anyways. No, you scare them because they recognize that the encroachment of the rights, and they have to behave like someone whose vote might eventually count on them listening to someone else besides their base voter. And so wherever you are, whatever your county is, whether it's safe blue or completely red, your vote chips away at either it either mandates what you believe in, or it makes them know that not everybody is 100% on board. And if they want to, if they see a tide coming, every time somehow the blue vote gets bigger in my district, I've got to start taking those constituents seriously. That will be meaningful, long-lasting change in the country, and it will also go a long way towards civilizing our political process. That's the one thing that does it. Yeah, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take questions from everybody here. We're live from the House Cafe in DeKalb, and this is so awesome that you guys are showing up. So we're looking forward to talking to you when we come back from the break. We'll be back right after this.
We've got a concerned citizen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ben Jarofsky. What's that weirdo guy?
Yeah. Bring it around, hand it to Johnny, and we'll, I'll be like Tony Stark. I don't like being handed things or whatever. Yeah. Cool.
Oh, this is fun.
Oh, concerns. Yeah. Right. Progressive values okay. Care for all citizens. Knowledge climate change. Affordable college. Renewable energies. Criminal justice reform. Enact sensible gun regulation. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Great. Lovely.
Excellent.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Glad to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. Absolutely. So we're going to, how long's the break? We have 2 minutes? Minute. We've got to call our Jonathan too? Okay, cool. And I'll do that part when we come back. Yeah. So, yeah. Yep, that's a great idea. Yeah, so we'll go to you when we come back from the break. We're going to come back in like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Yeah, like a minute and a half, and then, yeah. And then, yeah, we'll take that one. Whoop.
What's up? Are we back?
Oh, I thought we were. Did we had a troll? Good for us. Thanks, Julie. Real estate bubble rolling along again like last time. It will burst, just a matter of time. Totally can't stop lying. There was, listen to the ads you're hearing on television right now for mortgages and recognize that they are almost identical to the ones airing in 2007. Oh, okay. Votes for example. People have. Oh, thanks. Look at that.
I think I'm good, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. I'm quite the space geek in that regard. Published an article last year about the selection of lunar orbit rendezvous with them. Oh, yeah.
Now back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, 773-763-9278.
Welcome back to the show. So we are live at the House Cafe in DeKalb. What's the address again? I want to make sure I got it. 263 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb, Illinois. If you're in the area, stop by. We'll even after we finish the show, we're going to do a post show. We'll allow everybody in the chat room to see it as well on YouTube. Don't forget, if you're on the YouTube channel, or within the sound of my voice, go to houseparks.tv, like and subscribe to the channel. That helps us out long term. Once we hit that 10,000 mark, it opens a lot of doors for us on YouTube. So every little bit helps. Even if you're not one of those people who gets on YouTube a lot, it's worth your while.
How many do you have now?
I got 7,900. Not too bad. We're getting there.
Yeah,
and they're legit. None of them are purchased.
That's so amazing.
I haven't bought any Macedonian hackers, whatever. So, but we do have people here. Not only we got a call online, but we also have people here who want to talk, and we got somebody standing at the mic right now, he's got a hat on that says "Concerned Citizen." Steve, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Sound great.
I'm kind of tall, so
that's okay. Raise the mic up. You don't have. Yeah, pull it up. There
How
you go.
about this?
There you go. Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
First of all, with the first name Steve,
Yes.
I've heard Steve from the Gold Coast
yep.
call often.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of intelligent things to say, but
Yes.
I want people to know that this Steve drove in from Park Ridge
See?
and had to put up with road construction, which I've never seen to be any worse.
Right.
So anyway.
Right.
For what it's worth,
Yep.
Steve's can be tough.
Understood. Steve, the concerned citizen, will be the
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make a comment about WCPT radio.
Yeah.
I was exposed to it 7, 8, maybe 9 years ago, and Tom Hartman did a...
Me too, actually. It's about right. About the right timing, yeah.
In any event, Tom Hartman debated Michael Medved way back when, and I was at that in Rolling Meadows. And we are so fortunate in our city to have a progressive radio station.
Yeah.
And as we know, most of the United States doesn't have progressive radio.
And that's not an accident. There's an active movement. Bain Capital, Mitt Romney's fun little company, has been going around buying up progressive stations and converting them to Patriot Radio, even though nobody on there is being patriotic, and apparently is cool with selling us out to the Russians nonstop, and it's mostly Glenn Beck or whatever. But they literally in Los Angeles and San Francisco, you can't hear Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, and all that. Yeah, they have the Patriot Radio is replacing that or whatever, and that's not an accident. And they lose money. Those stations lose money, but it's worth it long-term for the propaganda push. Yeah. Yeah.
There is actually a new San Francisco station.
Oh, look at that.
Yes.
All right.
So we're expanding again.
Moving. All right. That's great. Do you know what the call letters for it are?
I don't remember.
Okay, we're going to have to look it up. We'll look it up during the break. But anyways, continue, Steve. Steve, the concerned citizen.
All right. Now, concerned citizen.
Yes.
2 years ago when Trump got elected, I leapt off my couch. And I thought, I'm going to be 69 next month.
Right.
I played 130 rounds of golf 2 years ago. But when Trump got elected, I sensed that we were on the verge of becoming a fascist state immediately. And I got involved with a lot of protests. I did the Women's March. I did the Tax March as a grassroots organizer a year ago. Been in the streets, so on and so forth.
Right.
And in July of last year, I held in my arms my dear father, a World War II veteran, 98 years old, had been a progressive all his life, a world-renowned engineer in his field. And he was dying, actively dying. And I said to him, Dad, I'm going to take my activism another level in your honor and for your grandchildren, my children. And 8 days later, I started Concerned Citizen, not being into social media, not really knowing what I was doing, and it now has 21,000 followers. So what it shows is that
there's an appetite.
There's an appetite, and for those of us that are fortunate enough to be retired, I think that social media does have a place.
Sure.
And I want to also congratulate and honor your show and your efforts and your articulation. I don't want to take any more time.
Not at all. I appreciate it.
I'm going to, as I've mentioned before, I'm going to put your picture with my picture on my site, which will reach out to through the shares. This is one other thing about the social media, which I didn't realize. At the end of August, for 1 week, Concerned Citizen had 420,000 reactions, shares, or comments, and 1.8 million reach, according to Facebook.
Right.
So don't underestimate the power that a single person with a friggin' phone that really is an athlete and a golfer by heart can have from his home. And it's not always on the toilet.
Well, yeah.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Cheers. Thank you, Steve, concerned citizen. And you're absolutely right. And Julie in our chat room says, "I love this, Steve." And everybody is yelling CPT, CPT, CPT. And Can't Stop Lying jumped in. One of our other people in the chat room and said, "Real Talk 910 has Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Norm Goldman, along with Clark Howard, who's a consumer expert or whatever." Which is definitely an opening there or whatever. Because the audience is so big in the San Francisco, and Cupertino area, of course it's there. They can, of course, sell advertising and be alive again. L.A., they've literally got such a limitation on the number of, stations or whatever that I'm sure they would have to buy one out or crowbar their way into the market again or whatever. And it's a concerted effort. So I would like to say to everybody who was motivated, like Steve was, by the election of Donald Trump and a recognition of that there was on some level an abdication of responsibility by liberals and progressives and an assumption that everything was just kind of on autopilot to some degree, and that Obama had handled some stuff. We got gay marriage and don't ask, don't tell got through. We're all kind of in a good liberal space right now, so we can let a failed casino owner run the place for a couple of years. No harm, no foul. He used to be a lib in the 90s when it got him laid, so why not think that he'll just continue doing that? We could just let it go, and you cannot, because these ideas, especially the more progressive and the more liberal and the more outside the norm, outside the mainstream for a time, which all progressive ideas are for a while, because they wouldn't need to be progressive ideas if they were already absorbed, require constant gardening, at least for a time. So we have another person who wants to come up and talk to us.
Troublemaker.
Come on up and say your name.
Hello,
and join
Hal.
us.
This is Amos from the chat.
That's
room.
right.
Hi,
Amos is with us.
Hello, Julie.
And Amos is actually he's tweeting on he's chatting on his phone. And while he's in there.
Multitasking.
And this is his second live.
Yes, he was with us last
Mary's.
time. Oh, I know, at Hamburger Mary's. And thank you so much for being with us this time. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. Because I've been listening to you since the Stephanie Miller days, and I'm a better person because of it.
Oh,
wow. Just want to let you know that.
I appreciate it. Right. That's what we're shooting for, making Amos better.
That's right. He needs to be.
It's increasingly hard to do because you're pretty damn good, my friend.
Right.
So thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Topic I want to talk about is it's kind of concerning me. Is this wave of Sessions started this religious liberty task force.
Right.
Okay. And to me, it's like, why do people think that religion is being suppressed here? Right. I don't see any suppression whatsoever. But why do they feel as if somehow they are being castigated? Because they seem to be the ones doing all the castigating.
Yes, I agree. Yep. I will tell you why. I think.
Thanks, Amos.
Because there's money in selling that idea.
Right.
There is a huge financial gain in we are the persecuted. The persecution complex in Christianity has been sold as a weaponized form of propaganda since, as long as I grew up in Peekskill, Kentucky, going to this little, little white Christian church in every sense of the word, the Peekskill Christian Church. And as we would go there, they would be these preachers who would come through town, and all of them talked nonstop about how the forces of the devil are against us, and Christianity is always, on the receiving end. Christians are persecuted worldwide and persecuted in every and this gets people to put more money in the plate, and it gets more people involved. Doesn't get them to act more like Christians, but it gets them to be financially involved in the Christian movement. And that's, as long as they feel like we're at war with somebody else, that really motivates them to put it together. So
that's Trump's thing. He wants to feel like he's at war.
That's
with
right. Well, there is a version of that Trump in many ways, one of the things that people go, and Amos, you've noticed this, I'm sure, in the chat room too, is that people have noticed that Trump, why do the evangelicals somehow support Donald Trump. He's the least evangelical-friendly person in the world. So you have to understand there's a titillation factor that comes in when these road preachers come through. We used to, at our church, we used to have these guys come through all the time, and they were fire and brimstone dudes, but they would regale you with stories that I was a womanizer and the demon cocaine had me in its death grip, and whiskey would control my every move, and I slept my way with wanton women across the entire South, through the Bible Belt and back again. And
I wish somebody were tuning in right now
and just went, "What the hell is that? What's happened?"
And they're like, "Hey, now,
hey,
turn it up and rip the knob off."
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the response that most people have in that circumstance. That while they get to have this pious feeling of this man has found Jesus and cleaned himself up, they also, quite frankly, get the titillating factor of hearing a dirty story in church. There's an element of, oh my goodness, this. You mean I can go do all that stuff and then all I got to say is, praise Jesus, and I'm back in the game again? That's where Alan Watts said that modern Christianity is the moral equivalent of a flush toilet. You just make a stinky and it vanishes. You don't have to do anything, right? You don't have to make, amends for what you've done. You just go, goodbye. I ask forgiveness and it's gone. And that's morally wrong. It is, but it's an easy sell to like, hey, you don't have to go do anything. Forgiveness is between you and your Lord, so just let it go. Now, so the persecution complex has a lot of positives as a sales point. Now, on a material level, there is did we go way past break? Did I just blow past break entirely, Matt? Were you supposed to be yelling at? We did. We got to take a break or whatever. I will say this. We got to take a break. But one of the reasons why is that there has been a movement against a singular religion in the country, and the inclusion of Jews, quite frankly, in the country. This was it. This was a big problem. Like, once Hanukkah started and you started saying happy holidays to people to include people who were celebrating Hanukkah, a big anti-Semitic group in the country got really mad that Christianity didn't have that holiday section locked up. Like, we can let you have these other religious holidays and peg them throughout the year. I'm not going to pay attention to Yom Kippur or whatever. But Christmas is Christmas. And that long-standing feud between Christians and Jews that have existed for a long time about who's who and who deserves to be, who's the actual Messiah, whether there is going to be one or when it's come or whatever, that's a real fight for a lot of people. And as they say happy holidays, that's including the people that they feel like they've been in a spiritual war with for a long time. The only thing I would say before we go to break is that
Lady B is here. Sorry.
Lady B is here! That's what I would like to say. Lady B is in the house!
That's what you're going to say.
Is that there? Well, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. We got to take a break. Lady B is in the house. That's enough. We can end on that. We'll be back right after this. Lady B is in the house. Yay! Not at all. Yeah.
On the Ricky Hannon Show.
Violence continues to happen up, and there's been over 450 murders in Chicago.
Come over and give us a hug. So Amos, that I think is a big portion of it. There's obviously a largely anti-Semitic, and then Kwanzaa started sneaking in, and they're like, wait a minute, now Christianity, which had this one, which by the way, Christianity stole from the pagans and totally repurposed. It's a German pagan, fertility holiday, yeah, right. The war on paganism, right? Oh, Julie, thank you so much. And this is because she just donated the super chat because Amos gave her a shout out. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And by the way, I missed Fessor Frank also did earlier. So thank you so much, Fessor Frank, for donating in the super chat. And we're going to give a hug. Hi. Yay. So wait, lean in and say hi. Hold on. Look. It's Lady B. They'll see you in a second. There's a delay, which is what happens or whatever. Yay, it's Lady B, everybody. Hi. And Johnny's just stepped out entirely. So yay. Are you going to sit with us? Or how are we going to do this? Yeah. Hi, good to see you again. How are you? Yeah. Yes. Good to see you. How are you? Yay. I'm good. So, yeah, here we go. So the... Oh, raffle winners. Oh, this is going to be part of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So,
oh, yeah, I already followed this on Facebook. Fantastic. Yeah.
Is there going to be a Tom Hartman cruise?
Yes. What?
Yes. Is he?
Tell me to not stand with my...
Your belly right in the... Because it was hilarious. Oh, Dekalb Area Progressives. Look at that. That's awesome. Right on. There you go. That's right. Obviously, I'm guessing you're pro-legalizing. I'm just going to go out on a limb. Oh, great. Okay. Oh, there's a legalized Wallace. Great. Cool. As you do. That's what you do. Fall in love and fall in line. I'm for it. You got it, Matt. You'll have to let me know when we're coming back. Lady B, yeah, here, get in, yeah. Yay. Excellent. Yay. Yeah, so it'll be a whole meet and greet. We'll say hi and all this stuff. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, he's here. Yeah, absolutely.
This is exactly what I hoped this would be like. Thank you, guys.
Okay, cool.
This is awesome. Thank you. I love this weird place. Have any of you ever had to explain what the House Cafe is to anybody else? It's hard.
Why is it hard to explain?
What is it?
It's a concert venue, a variety bar, and coffee house all slammed into one. You can see live music here. You can see stand-up comedy, obviously. You can see everything from jazz to sketch comedy, I'm guessing, some along those lines, and have great coffee and bagels. Like, am I wrong? It's the house.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yay! We're back. And
that was Lady B.
Yeah, and Lady B is with us. Look at that. Lady B is with us. And she's...
she's got a headset. Yes.
Yeah, there she is.
Bring her on.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, love.
Yay. And say hi, chat room.
Hi, chat room.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, like everybody's like going, this place is awesome. The House Cafe. It's like improv and cheese emporium. That's what they do. Lots of bishops and old goats, and you can see bands and whatever, and everybody saying hi, Lady B, and stuff in the chat room, and you guys are just fantastic, and this is really fun. That means we're going to have a raffle in a second. We've given away free raffle tickets to everybody who came down. We're going to start doing stuff like this more often, so it's nice to really start drawing a crowd, especially when you give away free stuff like a pair of tickets to see Andy Borowitz live for his Make America Not Embarrassing Again tour at the Chicago Theater, September 21st at 7 p.m., 4 days before my birthday.
Oh, boy. What are you going to get me for your birthday?
I haven't decided yet. Mittens.
I love mittens.
Something like that. I know you do. Yeah. And a matching, like, big stock cap or whatever, so when it's cold. Yeah, with ears. One that you could wear to a woman's march. Like just something like that.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah, absolutely. But for a man, so it would be even weirder. Oh, yeah. Huh?
No, thank you.
All right. Anyways, if you need the rules, which these people don't necessarily, you can go to WCPT820.com, and you should actually program that into your, your favorites in your browser and all that stuff, because let's say you're out of range of the station, you can listen to all your favorite progressive voices while you're traveling just through your phone. That's right. Use either TuneIn app or go right to the website. You
and it's like it's next to no data.
And Matt, explain to me how HSRPM is actually on iTunes as a podcast. Is that what's happening now?
Yes, we have our podcasts, which have been on SoundCloud and our homepage forever, are now on iTunes.
Look at that. So you can now listen to the show as a podcast?
Our local programs, whatever programs we do locally.
That you produce.
That we produce here at WCPT. Ben Jarofsky, Dick Kay, Hal Sparks, Out Chicago, the Empower Hour.
Davenport.
Doris Davenport is brand new.
Show
She's just started today.
Great. Oh, this is her first day doing the show? That's awesome. So we were here for the launch of Doris's show. Well,
Governor Peck went on earlier today.
Yeah.
So if you missed it, go to iTunes or SoundCloud, and you'll be able to listen to it in about a little bit.
It's up there as WCPT 820 podcast.
Right. And it'll list which by episode.
And subscribe.
They'll
just come to your phone.
I just subscribed, and it's got the most recent one is Ben Jarofsky, and then there's some breaking news.
Because he's on every day.
Yeah.
He's on 5 days a week.
5 days
so
a week.
yeah,
Yep.
so he's got a lot more of them.
Is that who
than
Dennis
we do.
works with now?
Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, so we actually have a caller on the line that we wanted to get to.
Is Jonathan still on the phone?
I think Jonathan's still on the phone, and then we've got somebody who wants to talk here. Jonathan, is that you?
That's me. If you can just give me 1 second, I'm actually trying to multitask.
Yes.
And I have to tell you something.
Put us on mute before you flush.
1 day a week, I work at a gas station. Never done this type of work before. And you know, the only people that tip are people that are immigrants who barely speak English. I swear to God, it's true.
Huh. Well, I just read an article that millennials are the worst tippers ever.
I
wonder if it's because they recognize hard work.
I think I wrote. You there?
Yes, we're listening. Go ahead.
Yep, we can hear you.
I knew especially that you would appreciate, because I've written the ultimate Trump parody.
Okay.
AC/DC's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap.
Yes.
My friend Anastasia, who's a woman of color, knocked it out of the park. I spent the entire summer influenced by you, Tom Hartman, and others, Norman Goldman, finding the most incriminating material for the video. I think it's an A+.
Excellent.
And how do we see this?
How do we see it? Yeah.
Well, you can look up right now. You look up Trump AC/DC parody. Dirty D, T's a creep. I play drums on it. I sing backups. I wrote the lyrics.
Awesome.
I have 3 more already written. I have Living Colors, Cult of Personality, Enablers of Trump's Presidency. But let me just tell you, the last line, last verse, you know, if you got a lady and you want her gone and you ain't got the guts, she keeps nagging every night and day enough to drive you nuts. Well, I say, if you want a shady, overbearing con, a narcissistic putz, whose dog's wagging like a bitch in play, a bluffing corporate slut. Russiagate's grown, won't let him alone. It's time to cuff small hands. And soon you'll be happy to see his orange ass in the can.
All right. Anyway. Watch. Remember, we're out over live, so we have to limit our language, young man.
I'm sorry for the
that's good for a feed, but we did find the link, and we will post it for you. So we appreciate that we've been inspired.
He's a creep. I really appreciate it.
We found it. We've got it.
Prince of all parodies, correct?
And I'm going to promote your show. I love
appreciate
your show.
it.
I listen every weekend.
We all need to band together, because we do not have that. As much as the Soros myth exists, I have yet to get a. The Pope is here.
Pizza's done.
Can I ask you one question though before I go?
Yeah, sure.
I would love to promote your show and vice versa.
Yeah.
And I know you're a musician. We got to talk after you hear my track. If you think enough of it, I have a lot of material written.
Oh, there we go. We might have to sing or play guitar on this or whatever. It is in the cards, my friend. Well, I say why not? Like I said,
how would I contact? Right through your show?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at Hal Sparks. You can follow Johnny Million at JMillion. So we do all our own stuff.
It's going to be
yeah.
Okay, I will leave a message, and I'm going to leave my info also with
Love it.
Perfect.
That's great. And everybody gets to hear this entire back conversation between the two of us. Like, dude, I'll totally. Yeah. Appreciate the call. That's really awesome, and we will link that out or whatever. Absolutely. And thank you, Grice Eichel, in our chat room for the super chat as well.
01.
Yeah, 01 all the way. And by the way,
01. Oh, 01.
Yeah, it's my band. Thanks a lot, John.
What?
Thanks, really.
I thought he was talking about 2001. I'm like, that ship has sailed.
Yeah. No, not at all. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it.
All right.
No worries. Cheers. Okay. Bye. So, Julie in her chat room said, "New Pope," when she heard the bell ring. No, that's white smoke, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's when they burn the old Pope. How's that work? I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I'm not Catholic. So, that being said, hi, Lady B. Good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. And this is the opposite of a normal show where you've shown up late in it and you arrived, as opposed to about this point in the show when you have to leave and run off and go do something because something
horrible happens.
Someone's broken their arm, or someone.
Somebody's on fire.
Yeah, someone burst into their leg's broken or whatever. So there you go. He's giving you the headset so you can join us back on the air or whatever.
I usually just make her cry when I see her.
That's just her eyes watering from the smell. That's
I'm sorry, Lady
when you violate the Geneva Convention. That's why we have to do the show in big open spaces like this and hope the dissipation factor.
It's easier on everybody.
You can count on it. Absolutely. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Show's almost over. We blazed through this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's so exciting though. But we actually do have a happy ending since I got a special this week. So we will see that when we come back. But we're also going to take a couple more people here who have wanted to say stuff. We'll be back right after this. Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, live from the House Cafe in Dekalb, Illinois. Huh? You know what a happy ending. Don't pretend. Don't you know. This, you know, there's actually there's some, well, there's some decent news. I found one particular story. I have to bring it back up again. I can't remember whether it's Washington Post or the New York Times, but I will bring it up in just a second. I know you don't have to do anything. You're not having to throw any wires or unplug a tie line at the last second. And like the amount of not finagling Lady B is having to do right now to keep this show on the air is fantastic. So let me know if a wire pops out of something. I know what to do.
My favorite thing is when Lady B is trying to fix something, and Hal's like, "All right, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back." And I'm just like,
"She's not here.
I don't know how to go to break.
Room.
You got to show me how to throw it to break."
Yeah.
I think that would be smart.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Okay. So
four people win?
Pairs of tickets? Okay, great.
Four pairs. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what Andy Borowitz looks like. What does Andy Borowitz look like?
Okay, where is it? Yes, I'm here. Let's see.
Andy
Borowitz. Oh, great. Okay. Oh, gotcha. That's nice.
Hey, he's a handsome fella.
Look at that.
Look at Andy Borowitz.
Look at Andy Borowitz. Look at him. Silver Fox.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm going to find this. Watch me, like, lose the one, like, the happy ending story that I was going to pull and all my stuff. You're going to have to tell me when we're coming back, because I...
15 seconds.
Uh-oh.
Count on Micah Mateer, Joe Don, Dan Rowan, and Chicago's most trusted meteorologist, Tom Skilling, on Chicago's very own WGN News at 9.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending.
Welcome back. I mean, I think in and of itself, the gathering we have today and the fact that we have our chat room going as well, and everything seems to be firing on all cylinders, trying not to jinx it because I get really nervous. Sixes gave us 666 in the chat room, in the super chat. Thank you so much. To continue our efforts to purchase 666 Fifth Avenue with just super chats from YouTube. And I know what you're thinking, Hal, there's no way you'll have enough money to buy 666 Fifth Avenue. Well, that didn't stop Jared Kushner. He didn't have enough money either. Nope. So why not keep trying?
That's right.
Trump hasn't had enough money to buy a building since his dad gave it to him. And, you know, I read this a couple of weeks ago. We went over, you know, what Trump's real finances were like, and the fact that he pilfered his siblings' inheritance to the tune of $35 million.
He kept borrowing money from them.
Just not even to buy back his stuff and stabilize his empire, just to keep his business afloat long enough till the Russian money ended up rolling in. That was literally, this was just operating cost. He literally
And he would just lose it every time. It's not like he would get $25 million and turn it into anything.
If the Russian money and The Apprentice hadn't happened when it did, he would have been an afterthought. He'd be, you know.
If only.
Yeah. He'd be running on, like, he wouldn't be poor by any stretch, but he'd be a millionaire, and by his standards, you know, he'd be one of these guys who's like, yeah, he's a millionaire in Florida. They live down there or whatever. He lives off whatever residual money that's left over. That's, of course, before he actually got busted for money laundering and having a server that pinged with Alpha Bank and having Russian pimps and mobsters in his buildings running human trafficking and money laundering out of his actual buildings.
Could be amazing.
If that had ever, well, you know, I don't know what there's a statute of limitations on that kind of stuff. I don't think so.
So do we talk to somebody?
Yeah, let's talk. We have another person we're going to address, and then we've got to
got a happy ending.
We got a happy ending.
Oh, and the lottery.
Yeah, and the lottery. The raffle.
Raffle.
All right. Welcome. Say your name and welcome.
My name is Vern Del Johnson, and I also multitask. I got to take a sip of Pepe's coffee.
Yeah, Pepe makes some great coffee.
Coffee is very
House
good
Cafe,
coffee.
great food, great beverage. Try the cake, and
A couple of things real quick. I want to say that if we do not start, we let Reagan get away, we didn't lock him up. We let Bush get away, we didn't lock him up. If we don't start locking some of these people up, we are going to lose our democracy because they're going to think we can get away with more and more and more.
Okay.
The main reason I'm here, though, is I want to promote, I'm with the Dekalb area progressives.
Woo! Right.
I want to promote that we are doing a event to try and get people in who usually do not vote, who feel that the country is, everything is, they feel disenfranchised.
Right.
Cannabis smokers who, for years, in 2000, I ran for Congress against Dennis Hastert on a legalized cannabis campaign. And I got thrown under the bus by the Democrats. Now, all the Democrats are out there ready to do it.
Yeah.
We got to get that word out there to these people.
Agreed.
We are doing an event. We're working with Pepe here now on a date.
Right.
We initially were going to do it at one of our beautiful forest preserves out here, but then
they were afraid your friends would smoke it.
Actually,
do
that
not light
out.
the trees.
That would have worked out better because there are places people could have walked off by themselves. But
you're right.
Things didn't work out so well for Dennis Hastert, did they?
No.
Nope. JB's campaign offered us his office, so we were going to do it there. Which moved the date back a little, but then we found out that there might be campaign finance laws that would offend it, or would affect it. So
imagine keeping track of something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be moving it to the house here, and we may be doing an after thing.
At the House Cafe, right here?
Yeah, at the House Cafe.
Excellent, okay.
We're setting up a date.
Okay.
We have to work with Pepe on the date. It was supposed to be happening this weekend at a forest preserve, but because we got offered the JB office, everything got messed up.
Right, and we couldn't find rolling papers big enough for to wrap the entire trees. Right. I'm sorry, I'm turning your entire statement into a Cheech and Chong sketch, but
I love Cheech and Chong.
But you're wearing you're wearing a plastic pot necklace, which is hilarious and awesome.
It's a lay. I got laid this morning.
Yeah, with weed. So
I'm seriously going to tweet out your picture.
Yeah, because no one's going to believe it.
No one will believe it.
We want to invite. We want people, now people who listen to your show are probably already for cannabis. We want to let people out there know.
Well, hey, here's the thing, and you may know this, but I don't smoke. I've never done any drugs. I don't drink. I never have. But I am 100% behind the idea of legalization and decriminalization. And certainly the benefits that come from legalization that we've seen in California, like the production of CBD oil, the opening up of hemp as a byproduct of it. All these things are positives for farmers who are losing their land, for people who need alternative health, treatments for stuff that they don't want to get locked up in a pharmaceutical, chemical hellhole.
Exactly.
It is great. So I'm for it.
We actually had a plan 2 years ago. If J.J. Wett had been elected, he was going to try and introduce on the Dekalb board, to legalize it here in Dekalb, and then let the state take us to court. And if we win,
a state, basically a county version of the state fight that's going on across the country.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
But JJ didn't get his position.
Well.
So what we're trying to do is get people. We want your listeners to talk to their friends who do not know that the Democrats are now on their side.
Right.
So that's what this whole thing is about, is to draw people out, get new voters. We're going to be doing voter registration.
Right.
We're working on it being. It was going to be, when it was going to be at JB's office, it was going to be October 19, 20, and 21.
Right.
But now we're going to move it to here and maybe do something at JB's, and we're still working with Pepe on a date.
You're working on the date for here.
Yeah.
So
I just talked to Pepe
the House Cafe has a website. I'm certain. Is it housecafe.com or what is it? Yeah. So
or you could go to Dekalb Area Progressives on Facebook.
Okay. Dekalb Area Progressives. Yeah, we got that card. We'll also post that up. But we're also going to post what the House Cafe's website as well, and I'm sure they'll list it in their calendar when they finalize that.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
But make sure that when you get the opportunity, mention to people to tell their friends that the Democrats, JB is all for legalization.
That's great. Yeah, I think
tell your friends. Those who don't know, let them know now.
I don't. Does anybody think that like modern Illinois Dems would be against decriminalization or legalization in any form? Like that seems
with homegrown.
Okay. With homegrown. Right. that becomes the hard part. Like homegrown for personal use, and a legalization of sales. That's that all those points, like every other state, need to be worked out. Nevada was behind the behind the 8 ball with that. We've got to give away. We got to raffle this off.
Yes.
So we've got 4 pairs of tickets we're giving out to people who showed up today, came down to the House Cafe, and saw us live at our second live appearance doing the show. Julie's saying I need a GoPro on my head just so people can see who I'm looking at. That'll be the next hat that I wear. And thank you, James Etling, for jumping in there. That's so awesome. And so this is to see Andy Borowitz live for the Make America Not Embarrassing Again tour in the Chicago Theater, Friday, September 21st. I'm stirring these up. Johnny's going to reach in there, pull out a ticket. You take one.
Just one?
Just take one. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, not yet. Lady B, grab one. Just reach around in there, root around or whatever. Matt can grab one as well, and I'll take one, and then that'll be the 4. And from these names, whoever we draw out will get. And I'm reaching way down the bottom. Whoever got.
Oh boy,
you never complained before. All right, so I'll Ted Moen is the first one. Hey, Ted. Ted's our first winner. Pair of tickets. To go see Andy Borowitz live. So congratulations, Ted. There's that one. Okay, Lady B, you want to say who yours is? Bill Joffrey? Yeah, woo! Bill Joffrey. You want a pair of tickets to see Andy Borowitz live on September 21st. You can take your Republican wife who didn't come down here because she doesn't approve what I say. And don't tell her what she's going to see.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
No, you'll like him. He's from New York.
Yeah, he says it's Philharmonic. It's music. We're going to see it. It'll be hilarious. That's awesome. Okay, who do you have?
Amy Hangen? Hangen?
Hangen?
Yay.
All right, we don't want to leave you Hangen. Is it Hangen? Haugen?
Oh, it's a you.
It's a you.
Sorry.
Haugen. And
Delete.
last one, Matt, who do we have?
And Amber Jorgensen.
Yay.
Yay.
So you guys each win a
shirt.
pair of tickets. That brings us to the end of the show. I want to say real quick in the happy ending, just because I have a couple seconds left. There's a story in the Washington Post. She made the discovery, but a man got the Nobel Prize. A half century later, she's won a $3 million prize. This week, it was announced that Jocelyn Bell Burnell will receive a $3 million breakthrough prize, one of the most lucrative and prestigious awards in science, because her discovery was sniped by her lab partner, essentially, back in the day, because he was the prevailing scientist at the time and took the money or whatever. But she's finally getting her due, and we're finally seeing female scientists and inventors finally getting the attention that they deserve. So that's a happy ending. There is progress being made in spite of this. Thank you so much. See you next time. Thank you, WCPT. We'll be here after. Everyone. Come on down to the House Cafe. We'll be here for about another hour talking to people. We'll see you next time. See you later. Thank you, Lady B. Thank you, Matt.
Yay,
Thank you, Johnny Million.
Thank you,
everybody. Thank you, chat room. All right. So there we go. Look at that. Speak freely. Now we'll still have to use the microphone. So
did you know you can listen to WCPT stream via their website, TuneIn Radio, iTunes, and Windows Media? Click the Listen Live tab at WCPT820.com.
For another hour, I think, if that's all right. Julie says, "Yay for females."
To get data.
He says, "Yay, that's great." Mark says, "I love Hal's show. I wish he was on every day." Yeah, I thank you. I love that, but it means not doing anything else, and that's the hard part.
Yeah.
The morning drive time, because that doesn't require any prep or getting up early.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What's that?
Isn't that Steph's hour or whatever? Steph's window. So I don't want to eat into that. Let's see. It doesn't sing you. Cannabis hemp is an indigenous species in Americas. That's why it's called a weed. Hemp lotion is the bomb. It smells good. That's what you're saying. There's the backstory of this. So we're rolling back on some of the chat rooms, because they've had stuff to say while I've been ranting, or we've been discussing other people, or we're having raffles and listening to everybody else. And in doing this, let's see. Yeah, James gave that. Legalization of cannabis requires very careful oversight and controls, along with special etiquette. This is certainly true, Sing-Yu. I mean, and other states have already kind of made progress in managing how to do that. This is not. First of all, in the management of weed being sold or used for both medical and recreational purposes, there is an entire infrastructure of how to operate a situation like that. It's called alcohol. We've been selling alcohol forever, and then we stopped at prohibition, and then went that was a mistake. That just caused a lot of violence, and went back to doing it. And so far as marijuana, it's actually an easier structure to have because you see smoke and to some degree sell edibles. You can see that those things are being sold. You can be more aware of those things. And there are psychoactive elements of the plant itself that can be both used in food and absorbed in CBD oils and all these other things that don't have an effect, whereas no one is looking to O'Doul's for any secondary health benefits. There is no non-alcoholic beer or ale out there, or apple cider, the
hard
sort
lemonade,
of
soft lemonade.
No, like the stuff that my mom always got me for my birthday, the fake champagne that's just apple cider. None of that has a secondary benefit to it. There is we have an entire structure on selling that stuff outside of its use as a psychoactive substance that has a benefit factor beyond that. Whereas alcohol, there is none. There is either alcohol or there are soft drinks. That is our derivation in how we make those kind of things. And there's a structure. It does need to be managed. We do need to make sure that children aren't getting a hold of it. I do believe that there should be a 22-year-old age for both alcohol and pot, mainly because, and not because people won't sneak it and whatever, it's because the brain is still developing. And once you get past where the brain is developing, then there's less negative effects in almost every known drug in that regard. So, but if you get in early, it's like Jesus camp. They get them while they're 4 for a reason, because your brain is porous. So, yes. This is Paul Scott. He is running for the 70th. All right on. All right on. Hi, Paul. Good on you for being here. Thank you. Look at that. It's probably when it's legal. Let's see. I will probably try it when it's legal in Illinois, says people in there. Oh, we're supposed to call it cannabis. Yeah, cannabis is one of the ways of taking the word marijuana out of it. It makes a lot of people sound like it's already legal. Although I think cannabis in its own way sounds worse. Than marijuana. Like, it's just an odd word. I mean, it's the natural word for it, but yeah, you have to use your mic, otherwise people can't.
Huh?
They can't hear you. They can't hear your interruptions that are germane to nothing if you're not wearing your microphone properly. So,
did you hear there's a new KXL album coming out?
Amy Kish in our chat room says she's going to see Andy Borowitz, and thanks to WCPT for coming to Dekalb at the house. Oh, that's nice. That's you kicking in. There's people in the chat room or actually in the room. That is so awesome.
That's so much fun.
That is so awesome. See, Matt, they can multitask. They can listen to the station and be in the chat room and communicate back and forth.
And be in person.
And be in there. And it's a really great – I will also say, in speaking to the idea that we need to get people together and start letting people know that the Democrats in Illinois are now pushing for legalization, decriminalization, medical marijuana, whatever their angle is, because everybody's going to have a slightly different take on it. But the ultimate idea is that – and again – this is coming from a person who does not use. No matter how legal pot gets, I have no interest in using it. This is just my own choice in life. People are capable of making that choice in their life. I am not a user who is arguing for their own safe use, which is always the defense that people use. Like, that's just a pothead who wants to smoke pot near a schoolyard, so I don't want to legalize it because that guy's just fighting for that. I'm fighting for the myriad of other both financial and legal reasons and health reasons that exist for the use of cannabinoids and hemp and all the other ancillary elements that get kicked out when it's legal, not the least of which is what I would call the gateway lie. They will often say pot is the gateway drug, right? We hear this often and often, and I don't think that's what causes people to use other drugs is the usage of pot. I believe that pot is the lie about pot being a Schedule A narcotic is the gateway lie, because the problem is you tell children again and again that pot and heroin are no different. Pot and heroin are no different. Pot and heroin are no different. This has been the legal stance of the federal government for a very long time. And then a kid or a young person tries pot, it doesn't kill them. They don't get chemically addicted to it, and then they go, maybe they're lying about heroin too. It is better to be honest up front about these kind of things and understand that there are variant degrees in this. And this goes a long way towards our discussion about conservative and liberal philosophies. There are things that are off the deep end for both of us, and there are things that are within the reasonable bipartisan usage of philosophies that can be worked out. And if you pretend there's no way we can get along on anything, then their crazy stuff starts to sound like, well, maybe we got to get along on something. What's that nutty thing you believe? Let's try to get it together with my nuttiest idea. Right. And that meanwhile, the stuff that we would agree on, we've just kind of pissed away, as it were. Yes?
The other reason marijuana is a gateway drug, you buy it from drug dealers.
Yeah, right, because they also have other stuff to sell.
Right, and they get more profit on the other
stuff. And that you do get addicted to, and they know they will get return business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, again, it's just don't lie to your kids about this stuff. Tell them about the serious ramifications of drug use and alcohol use or whatever, but when there's other stuff, you can mitigate it and have a reasonable conversation with it. I will have an honest conversation with my child, and I don't want them to use anything that changes their mood or their psychological output without their permission. I just have no interest. I would rather have you meditate, learn how to manage your anxiety, learn how to manage your ADHD. You don't need something chemical extra. Your body produces all these chemicals. However, I'm also not going to pretend that pot is the exact same thing as methamphetamine. There's a reason why Breaking Bad was not about pot, and it was about meth, because you couldn't do more than one season. Like, they tried it with weeds, and it became a comedy.
Yep.
Like, within a short order. Like, Kevin Nealon is on this show. How dangerous could this possibly be? You know what I mean? Meanwhile, Breaking Bad, there's like a gun to somebody's head every other week, but on weeds, they're like, have you tried this one? It's got a kind of a caramel afterflow, and I don't know what the hell that's about. So, and yes, everybody in the chat room is saying, Tide Pods, right? That's the gateway drug, right? Tide Pods.
Tide Pods.
Opioids. And Tom Hebert. So some of you who are in the chat room or listening to the show, Tom has been a regular for a very long time. Who's in our chat room and stuff. He's a Canadian. He's a cannabinoid American.
Cannabinoid.
Opioids are the gateway drugs, and the unfortunate reality about opioids as a painkiller.
Yep.
There was just a study that said they're not any better at managing pain than anything else. There's all kinds of negative effects that go with these drugs. Not the least of which is, you know how OxyContin and all these things actually got approved in the first place? Mm-hmm. Was that they were. It was all about the fact that, well, we've taken an opioid, we've taken heroin basically, and we've mitigated its addictive factor by stretching out over time its release level. So you don't get the boost high anymore. It comes over 12 hours. So it's not addictive because it enters your system slowly. Well, it took people understanding what was in it who'd read a book about 45 seconds to recognize if you crush it up and snort it, ta-da! You've got opium from the 20s, and that was what caused it. Once you start injecting it or snorting it, it has the same old effect. And that they didn't go, well, damn, people are finding a way to use this in a negative way. We need to remove this from the market until we can manage it over time. Like, it takes so many pills to do it, or you'd have to, they just let it go and pretended that aspect did not exist. That's what caused the addictive factor, was that they pretended it didn't exist. Most people don't know this. I mean, maybe they do. I don't want to be too Trump about it. A lot of people don't know.
A lot of people don't know how to pronounce
Earth
anonymous.
Is round, and a lot of my friends, some people disagree that it's round. A lot of my followers believe that it's flat because only, it peaks where I'm standing at any given point. But that heroin, got
always slay lady me with it.
Heroin was created by the Bear Aspirin Company. It was actually made by they named it that. Heroin is a brand name, and it was named after its heroic effect on controlling pain, right?
And it was supposed to be a safe replacement for morphine.
Right.
Like, morphine was too hardcore.
Well,
so
and that's where the DEA came from. The DEA's original mandate was to stop doctors from over-prescribing morphine and painkillers. And now they've spent so much time jailing people for pot and filling our prisons with non-violent drug offenders, they have literally turned their back on the original mandate, and we are back to where we were before the DEA even exists, where doctors are over-prescribing opioid painkillers that are causing massive amounts of deaths across. And there, literally, there's a wave of despair deaths throughout the Midwest and through the South has been particularly hit by this. White, working class people who are affected by this thing because they just have given up on their lives. They've seen family members fall. Like one of my the kids I was in Boy Scouts with in Kentucky just lost his son. And like I remember like just talking to him, and your heart can't break enough to even express what he's going through in this minute. And there's big swaths of the South, these big groups of Trump voters who are they've now gotten to the point where they're shrugging off the deaths of their children, their cousins, their uncles, and their friends because what are you going to do, And by the time, because of how opioids affect you, by the time the people die from it, they've either become a burden or an embarrassment to the family. They've gone through these back and forths, buying and selling and stealing and doing all these things, that there's almost an emotional breaking point for the family where they're like, what else can we do?
Yep.
You and I had a friend in high school, we won't bring him up or whatever, where his parents often would throw up their hands. Well, I don't know, what can I do? I've tried everything. Yeah, you've tried everything but love him and let him just be.
He is thriving now, by the way.
Away from that nonsense.
Yeah,
right.
He left the country. He lives in England.
That's right. He had to. But his parents were like so busy shaming himself over pot use that they were ready to kick him out on the street. Well, what happens then? Then
I do have an excellent memory of when we were riding around. He owned a hearse.
Our friend
owned a hearse. Drove a hearse around. This is 87,
86, 87, 88.
Yeah, and we were driving around in his hearse smoking pot, and
not me.
No, it's just me and him. And it was super cold. It was one of those super cold winters where you close the door of the car, but the latch doesn't want to hook anymore because it's frozen. So I was holding the door closed as we were driving around. And we get back to my parents' house, and we go in. It's only like 10:30 at night. I'm already very tired. And my mom has just made peanut butter cookies. And it's not her forte because peanut butter cookies can be a little dry. And I remember she happily offered them to me and this person.
Hoovered them up.
We were so excited, like, oh my God, Mom just made cookies, and here we are, like with the munchies and everything. They were so dry.
And you had dry mouth from them.
Yeah, we had dry mouth already.
You might as well just chuck flour in your mouth.
And we were just looking at each other going, oh.
Got any milk? You have me in my mouth.
It was so great. It was weird enough, like being high in front of my mom.
Oh my God! My next door neighbor in Kentucky, his mother used to make what she called Dear Roberta's, where they're the cheapest, lamest peanut butter cookies. It was a cup of flour, a cup of peanut butter, and 1 egg. She'd make a plate of these things, and he would just hoover them up. Yeah, and that's probably what got me off, the idea of drugs, because he was clearly addicted to sugar when I was a kid, to the point where his mom, to keep him from eating too much ice cream, got rid of all the ice cream in the house, so he started pouring powdered sugar on the lard she kept. He hid the lard in the freezer. I know.
Is this the same guy who would make 2 boxes of mac and cheese?
Yes.
He was, if you just double up all the other ingredients.
You can only look at that so long before you have kind of a Goldblum response to it. Life finds a way. He just managed. So we're in the post-show part of this or whatever, and we have a bunch of people in the chat room saying stuff. But anybody that wants to come up to the mic or has a question or wants to talk about stuff, we're more than open to that stuff as well. Oh, we got, right away, look at that. He's got one, so we'll have a small line forming. He's coming up behind you. Let him get to it, and then you can go to one. And hi, Brad. Hold on. Can we bring his mic up? Is it on? Is he red button? Yeah.
I still
check it. Check.
I just want to give a shout out to Cory Booker.
Yeah.
He
and
tried.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
And everybody backed him up. It was such a good feeling. Like, bring it on.
Yeah, right. No, I'm Spartacus. I'm Cory Booker. No, I'm Cory Booker.
Yeah,
Cory Booker.
Great. We want more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was, I saw all these, texts and tweets and everything. Like, am I seeing the Democrats get a spine? This is amazing. Yeah. And Kamala Harris, by the way, who I've liked for a very long time. Kamala Harris has been, she was the AG of California. She's been a prosecutor, and you could just tell. And when she brought out that, like, she's obviously looking at an email that Kavanaugh had sent in a conversation, like call logs that she had access to, and she goes, "Think very hard about your answer." I was like, I
was scared out of my mind.
That's prosecutorial stuff. I've seen, I've been in court depositions in my life. I've gone through some of this stuff, and I have luckily never been on the receiving end of one of those moments, but I've seen my attorney and other attorneys do it, and I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't have been that cold-blooded with it. She's amazing. I like Cory Booker a lot, and I think he's terrific. I think he's a great senator. But Kamala Harris has something about her that I think really has a fortitude to how she, she does. And she's detail-oriented. She's focused. Like, Cory Booker will run into a fire and pick a fight, and that's what makes him awesome as a human being. Kamala Harris will stop the next fire from breaking out. You know what I mean?
She was on the Rachel Maddow show the other day, and she was on Rachel Maddow, and she called from.
She was in the little closet, the broom closet. Yeah, the storage closet where they hid all the paperwork. Yeah. Like, I'm in the document vault. We have the documents, infotainmentwars.com, and she was in the little terrible connection.
It was the worst connection ever. But so they had to show a picture of this is where she called from. By the way,
she's down there with a bag of cheese popcorn and no food or whatever. She's eating that and working on the thing. That's awesome. Well, then, here's the thing, and I appreciate where they're coming from, and it has a lot to do with the fact that voters are standing up, and there's an expected blue wave. If there was any idea that the blue wave wasn't something you could count on, if the volume of voters weren't showing up, the fallback would be independence. Okay, that's why you go, why do these people go all conservative on? Because the fallback voter is the uncommitted independent. And they are more conservative than the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, and they are the fallback voter. If it's me or the guy who will put Kavanaugh and the next Scalia on the court, and it's between losing, standing on my feet, or sitting down, and winning and keeping that guy off, what choice do I make? Do I just stand there and make a dumb fight and lose, and the new Scalia gets on the court, or do I go, okay, I'll temper what my beliefs are to try and court some of those independent voters so that we get some bridge voters and we actually win? And the problem is we have had kind of for a little while, and the Tea Party has inflicted the Republicans with this, so we're not the only ones who've done this. But there is an element of people going, well, if I don't get everything I want, I'm not going to vote. So they become an unreliable voter. Mm-hmm. And that's why, the youth vote. Obama yesterday was going 1 in 5. 1 in 5 voters is well, guess what? The next round, when the next presidential election, those people don't count because they're not youth voters anymore. In the time that has passed, they have gone from 19 to 23 in this time span. And so they're no longer in that demographic. You're not courting the fresh out of college crowd anymore. And the new fresh out of college crowd is just as unreliable and has been over the years as anybody else. Ask Republicans who are counting on the Ben Shapiro millennial crowd to back them up as well. They're not showing up either. So that the value has to be that progressives need to go, I will stand with the better of the two at all times. And then if I don't think the Democrat that represents me is progressive or forward enough, I'm going to show my disdain for this circumstance and push this during the primary act, during the actual act of be a member of the Democratic Party, move the party forward, take them, in some cases, in some districts, kicking and screaming into the future. Yeah, right. Well, be involved. Go, that's right. Go and be involved in your actual, because they have party meetings. Be a part of it. you know, and this whole idea of moving in temporarily, and if it doesn't go your way, bailing out, you know, which is my fault with Bernie in this other thing, is that he didn't stay a Democrat. If he had stayed a Democrat, this entire movement of those voters would have stuck with this and brought the party much closer to the left. What happened is a bunch of people went, we can't trust those guys because they'll come in for a little while, but they'll leave if they don't. It's the libertarian effect on the Republican Party. They have the same problem with libertarians. That's where legalized weed has ruined some Republican districts for them, because the libertarians hold out for that part. Because a libertarian, right? A libertarian is technically, you know, they call him a Republican who smokes weed. That's the, yeah. Yeah, come over here and say it to them. Mm-hmm. Can we turn his mic up? So, yeah.
For money issues for the state, but let's steal that Republican vote from them, that argument, and let's say, let's legalize weed for personal choice. Like, what do they have to fall back on now?
That's right, yeah. I agree. If you believe in personal liberty, this is one of the obvious points. The reason that you won't see that is because it also attaches itself Rand Paul style to every other drug and child marriage. Like, they will leak this into, well, that's just willy-nilly. That's far-flung liberalism. Yeah. But I do believe that you're right in this thing, in the argument that I think in the same alcohol vein. Like, look, no one has ever died of an overdose of pot. No, people have died of alcohol poisoning.
Well, Willie Nelson is right. The only way weed can hurt you is if a bale of it fell on you.
That's right. If it crushes you. Right. Or you just stand still and get run over by a car going 5 miles an hour, which is... I mean, you have bigger fish to fry.
Ironically, my ex-girlfriend, the only time I felt safe in the car with her was when she was high.
Wow.
She was paranoid and she obeyed all the laws.
Because it takes 10 miles, yeah.
Yeah. Like, she would look before she pulled out or pulled into somewhere, and she obeyed the speed limit. It was crazy.
It's amazing how the paranoia aspect of pot seems to drift away when it is legal.
True,
and you know what I mean? That like, man, it makes you paranoid if you smoke it later. You know, that goes away when you're not in danger of going to jail, right? There's so much of that that dissipates when you don't have that secondary anxiety. So you actually create, through laws like that, a negating effect. It's like those people who get drunk and become an angry drunk because they feel like everybody thinks they shouldn't be drinking. So the more they drink, the angrier they get. Like, don't talk to me. I know what I'm doing. You know, it becomes an increasing thing. I think you're right in that. Republicans push the freedom idea, but don't really believe it.
Yeah.
And Democrats really do believe the freedom idea within, manageable. Obviously, we don't want you, like, you can't have the freedom to dump chemicals and coal sleuth into the groundwater.
Yeah.
And that we don't want you driving drunk. But there's an element of it is the, to borrow that phrase, the kind of classic liberal idea that I think liberals would benefit from seizing once again. And it is that personal liberty aspect that moved the gay marriage thing forward. Yeah. That's what did move the Republicans into that camp, was like, look, you shouldn't be telling anybody. If you want the government to tell you how to live your life, you want them, the government to tell them how to live their life, then that means you too. Yep. And that's where both progressives and and conservatives need to understand that kind of idea of precedent.
Yeah. Well, I also think the mere fact that as liberals, you have to enforce equality. It's got to be enforced.
That's right.
Sadly. And one thing I've noticed with arguing with libertarians is that most of them don't actually believe that.
No.
Because they don't have the historical knowledge. That stuff has to be
They think everything will self-regulate and be okay.
Yeah.
This is why I've always been sort of against the equality argument when we try to solve minority rights through an equality argument, because the people you're usually arguing with believe themselves to be superior even within their own group.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to a white supremacist about equality, he thinks he's special among white people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They think they're better. They think most people suck in general, and that there's alphas amongst people. Like, just watch the languaging they use. So, alpha and hierarchy aspect. So when you say black people are equal to white people, they'll go, yeah, most white people suck, and that doesn't raise anyone. That's why I've always argued the hero argument, that you must have heroes and people who inspire you from every group. You must seek out the scientists, the artists, the inventors throughout history who are different than you, recognize that heroic structure in them, and that in and of itself will let you see the spark of greatness in every person in your life, and it doesn't allow you to harbor racist thoughts because you know the seed of greatness exists in everyone. If you just think, well, everybody's equal, and you go, yeah, there's 9 billion losers on this planet, and me and my friends are going to rule them. They have this Manson family view of the world, you know, that one day they're going to need us to run stuff. And that's what that group thinks.
Yeah. So, well, I've noticed that with libertarians, though. Oh, everyone can start a business. I want to start a business. And then when you talk to them, they want to start a business so they can be a dictator.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. That's why very few libertarian companies go public, and if the minute they do go public, those guys cash out and leave because they don't like listening to anybody else about their stuff.
Yeah.
And and they usually buy it right before they know it's going to fail. Oh, by the way, I ruined the company, so it's going to fail. So you might want to sell off your stock right now. Yeah. And I personally believe libertarianism is not a political philosophy. I think it's an individual philosophy, like, you know, doing a self-help book. It has nothing to do with the governing philosophy of anybody else.
It's the chief cult of capitalism.
That's right. It's how you live
yourself. It's a capitalist cult. It's not actually a political philosophy.
Right.
It's not a political party.
No, and it can't be. It's like, well, and this goes to the small government conservative idea, like the Grover Nordquist idea. We want government so small you could drown it in a bathtub. That was okay. You know who also wants that? Vladimir Putin. Yeah. Every country that we are in competition with in any capacity, and I don't mean just for oil and all the stuff that we view ourselves as an evil empire because we seek out natural resources as every other large economy in the entire world does, but I mean literally in who's going to be engaged in Africa, for example, on which side of the Sudanese fight. For, you know, like, are you going to be in the Chinese side or the Russian side or the United States side? And which group do you trust more to at least at some point go, they should have a representative government? Because even as screwed up as we have been in those areas, the Russians and the Chinese have no interest in that even existing as a farce. They literally want their own people running it directly, not this indirect, like, well, we should set up a puppet. At least the puppet can eventually give us the finger long term in those, and do over time, right? This idea that once we become small and we just get out of things, that the world will kind of heal itself because we're the big evil is such a noxious, ridiculous, infantile, naive view of world affairs, because everywhere we leave a vacuum where we don't stand for democracy in a realistic way, the people that move in are never for it. It's not, you know what I mean? Not ever.
Although that being said, we have to actually stand up for democracy here. I mean, earlier you talked about the
well, we actually have a marginal track record. We're not 100%. The idea is that we are somehow 100% evil in all our machinations. Yeah. No. I'm saying there are absolutely places wherein we have been responsible for. World War II is a great example. There is an element of South Korea being, a stabilized situation that isn't eaten by North Korea because of this. Why Vladivostok didn't spill into it. That did happen. Yeah. There are real stances in that. Where we adventurized and went into, kind of the Reagan-Iran Contra zone of things, and that became a habit. Yeah, this has to be case by case. But the idea is if we live up to our principles, and that must be our mandate, those principles have value in the world. Right.
Well, I mean, when you mention the Supreme Court, I mean, we look at it as a zero-sum game. Okay, those guys are on there forever, and we need to change that. I mean, the French, their justices, one, they have more, and two, they're on there for like 9 years. And de Tocqueville was right when he looked at the American Supreme Court, in that we put people on there, and they just end up embodying the
they dance with whoever. Well,
the generation, the generation before, and like the guys that Trump wants to put on or that Bush put on. I mean, those are rearward-looking people. They have no business being on the court in this day and age. I mean, Scalia fought a 60-year war against modernity.
Right.
I mean, good Lord.
Right. But at the same time, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is ancient and has been around for a very long time. So, again, I don't want to get into the kind of the ageist zone of things. That's always the tough part. You know what I mean? Because we tend, there's even...
Except for him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
All right.
I just want to say thank you, Pepe. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Pepe. You have a small one? I'm a tiny person. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm not as grandiose as Johnny is.
Grandiose.
Yeah. That's how I view you.
That's like big poem.
Again, I always operate from the idea that we should live up to the standard of our, of our founding, even when we have failed in the past. And if we maintain that standard, then we do have value in the world as a country and as a voice for democracy and all those other things. But when we just abdicate it to the wrong guiding forces, because we don't, we act like the principle is the problem. When we almost are hostile to the Constitution as a founding document, flawed as the people who created it may have been. Once you let it go and you go, well, we deserve whatever's coming our way, that there's an element of like almost survivor's guilt that a lot of progressives tend to have, where we've just kind of let go of the reins of the United States and gone, well, I mean, let monsters run it. We're a monster anyways. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You have even more reason to take greater care with the power that has been left in your hands by however it ended up there, So, yeah. How you doing?
Hi, Hal. I'm Lord Dracul from the chat.
Hi. Oh, right on. Hey, welcome. Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah. That's not normal for me, but okay.
That's okay.
I had to come to see Hal. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, so when earlier we were talking about how important it is to vote, it reminded me of the cultural shock that I had when I voted for the first time in the United States. Mm-hmm. I'm from Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico, the participation is very high.
Yeah.
Sometimes I had to stand in line 30, 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Pretty high. Mm-hmm. And when I voted the first time in the United States, I saw the place empty, and and my first reaction was like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah,
Why people are not voting?
Yeah.
So, and I grew up, every single election in Puerto Rico, I grew up hearing the advertisement, whatever party it was, saying, voting is not only a right, it is also a duty.
Yeah.
So people...
Yeah, absolutely.
So people register and vote.
It's not just a right, it's a duty. I don't know if the chat room can hear you, what he was saying. And that's absolutely correct. I mean, once you, and you guys heard my rant about voting before, and I really do believe that the power of the mandate is one of the most important things that we let go each time we say or talk ourselves into safe district, or we let ourselves, let ourselves off the hook. Well, I'm busy today. It's one Tuesday every 2 years. And let's just say we give you the absolute that the two people running for president are monsters, and you've allowed yourself to talk yourself into the Democrat and the Republican in this circumstance are the most beastly human beings, and neither one of them, they're both, not only are they not, it's not even the lesser of two evil, it's just two people jockeying to be the worst evil in the world. And you've talked yourself into believing that. Still, there are usually somewhere between 20 offices that are also running that don't have that kind of weird, evil, Machiavellian, that are just decent people trying to make a change in their district, from just your school board to the offices you have ignored, judges that make a difference in the school-to-prison pipeline, all the issues we think about. It makes a difference, each one. And if you just abdicate, you go like, I'm not voting for president, I'm mad or whatever, then vote for everything else. Now, I'm not saying don't vote for president. I'm saying still do it. But what happens most of the time is that by convincing yourself, I don't need to vote for president, or I don't like my senator, you just don't show. And all the other offices, which especially Secretary of State, which is when you're talking about the right to vote in this country, or the ability to vote, the Secretary of the State is the most primary person in every given state, and the ability to control the rights of minorities and people who are in impoverished communities to vote. And when you abdicate that office to the Chris Kobachs of the world, and they are the ones who, like in
shut down
Georgia,
polling places.
Yeah, in Georgia, where they're literally stripping an all-black county of 7 of their 9 voting machines. That's not because they don't need them. That's because they know that those people have bosses that those guys know that make them, you can go vote, but I better see you back at work in 3 hours, and you make sure the line is 4 hours long. And, this is where the ID thing comes from. This constant idea that we need voter ID, which I, as a citizen, I'm completely fine with a national ID card that's provided to you by the federal government that you get for free, and if you lose it or whatever, you can get a fresh one. And not only that, but as a citizen using that card, you can go to any state building, any official government building, and vote, and it will register so that you can't do it twice in 2 different locations. You don't just have to go to your polling place. You can, but you can also go to any state building to vote or whatever and have that card. But the reason they want an ID and they want it to be a state ID is because in all through the South, they used to do this in, I remember in Northfield, when, a long time ago. They've stopped doing it, thank God. But they still do it throughout Mississippi, Alabama, all the southern states, Georgia, the Panhandle of Florida, Carolinas. You get pulled over, they take your license, and you get it back when you show up for traffic court. You get a ticket that says I'm a licensed driver, but I got a ticket, and I don't get my license back until I do that. And then right about October 20th, they start pulling people over of color, and those people don't have a court date until December. So they can guarantee even if you used an ID to vote, you don't have it anymore. You need a photo ID. That's the plan. That's the whole purpose of it. And unless you're willing to provide people with that, a guaranteed right to a picture ID, and the government provides it, if you lose it, you can immediately get another one. Right. Yes, a national holiday for voting. Absolutely no question. And it should be the Monday and the Tuesday afterwards. We can lose President's Day. We can add a secondary holiday, lose President's Day, because every president that's ever lived, except for this one, would agree that voting is very important on an individual level.
How would I buy a mattress if those days were gone?
You celebrate voting by going home and taking a nap on your brand new cushy mattress. That's what you relax. You've earned the right to rest. You have voted. That's right.
I want to say, as far as the Secretary of State, as you were talking about, your county clerk is just as important as your Secretary of State.
Right, but they usually carry out what the Secretary of State does. But you're right, they can run interference, but very rarely. Yeah,
we've got a very good county clerk running right now.
Great.
Carolyn Morris.
She's
running for county clerk here in Dekalb. But going back to the libertarians, what you were talking about libertarians, the libertarians are basically just a recruiting farm for the Republicans. I've been to libertarian conventions, and you walk in, there's cannabis leaves all over the place. And they get the young people all interested. There's booths set up for cannabis information. They get the young people in there on the cannabis, and then by the time these people realize that the libertarians are not going to do what they want, they've already been indoctrinated with all this anti-government garbage.
Right. Right. Well, and that's, and again, anytime you see somebody talking about like small government, they're usually talking on behalf of corporate interests. Specifically denying people the right to drink water that doesn't have... Polluters want to outsource their cleanup costs to the taxpayer. This is the primary point. This is why it costs $150,000 to clean up coal dust, but you only get fined $25,000 for dumping canisters of it in the ocean. You do a cost-benefit analysis. Why would you ever clean up after yourself? And the only answer to this, to the face of a giant, a corporation who has this kind of money, has this much of entrenched there, your local power is reliant on them. The only fight back you would have is government regulation, because it is the only embodiment of the group of the citizenry that can be equal to a corporation of an equal size. It's why we have unions. The reason you have unions is because the corporate board of any company, to the benefit of the company, will always sit around and go, how can we produce more stuff, paying fewer dollars to the workers and maximize profits? And there's nothing intrinsically wrong with them trying to do that to benefit them. But it makes sense that workers can also have a balanced conversation with them, and there should be a give and take between the two. But what we've done is we've allowed this idea that the makers and the takers are two separate groups, and that unions have been decimated by this idea that they don't deserve a place at the table, because without them they wouldn't even, if you run off all the businesses, you won't even have a job in the first place, as if it doesn't take anyone to do it. So, sorry, you're gonna say.
Well, I'm glad you came back around to corporate power, because it seems that the corporate power issue keeps coming back in the thread through all of this. When we were talking about the war on drugs and that issue, and the shift to opiates as a drug problem today, it gets back to corporate greed. And
yeah, but it also it matters which corporations, because all corporations aren't people, but they're also not all the same company, and some of them are at odds. You know, Tesla and Starbucks are not the same as Dow Chemical and Monsanto. There's some elbow rubbing that happens because of the multinational structure of our lives right now.
Sure, that is true. That is true, but.
And some companies are very far ahead in trying to manage these things.
The growth in wealth and income inequality is rivaling the late 1800s today.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a serious problem, whether it's with healthcare issues, whether it's the drug war issues, and then the foreign policy issue that you were talking about. And from the entire Cold War, from World War II to the end, to the fall of the wall, the excuse that was made for intervening to prop up dictators all across the world was, well, it's against the Soviet Union, but if you dug beneath it, it was defending corporate interests in Guatemala in 1954, in Iran in 1953, and Chile in 1973, and so forth.
Yeah, but that's usually food resources and energy resources. So corporate the one thing that I think we miss in the conversation is that we all benefit from these corporations, and we all play a part daily in our purchasing power and what we do with our money that these corporations supply and need. That it goes to that mandate idea. If you're not Obama comes out and starts pushing for solar and renewable energies, right? And this is a big part of it. And progressives left and right couldn't wait to pull the ripcord on him about those particular issues, and the Republicans are pushing this. The government shouldn't pick winners and losers. And what did progressives go? Yeah, we should, because we all make these decisions and we don't have a choice. The gas was subsidized until there was a gas station on every corner. The plot point of every horror movie in the friggin' 40s was the fact that you ran out of gas. Thriller, the opening plot point in the Michael Jackson video Thriller is that he runs out of gas, and that was because back then there wasn't a gas station everywhere, and the government subsidized the existence of those things because we all needed gas to do what we were doing. And until we make a decision to be an integral part of going, you know what, whatever politician is going for renewables in this particular situation, there is a difference between a corporation that's making solar panels and one that is running people off their land or poisoning the Congo by leaky oil pipes going through there again and again. The reason that dude from BP was going, why can't I get my life back? Remember that bullshit when he was standing up there going, how come I'm being The reason he said that is because legitimately that was a gripe he had, because his buddies at Exxon were dumping that same amount of oil into the Congo River every frigging year and getting away with it. So he couldn't understand it's just the Gulf. It'll wash away,
Right. And Nigeria as well.
Yes, but we all drive those cars. And when it comes time for us to push for climate change, and protecting the environment and stuff, a bunch of us backed off the gas pedal, no pun intended, around Obama trying to change these things. And then what do we have in office now? And because the idea is that we paint with too broad a brush, and once we got to shore up that wall.
Well, but don't forget the media also concentration as well, corporate concentration of power.
No question.
But I want to leave you with one last thing. I went to a Janus presentation at a labor union, the engineering, operating engineers,
right?
And they had a presentation of labor history and from U of I, and they showed a very telling graph that illustrates the income inequality that has grown. And the graph had productivity and also wages, real wages, from World War II to the present. And from World War II to 1973, the two graphs were like this.
Yeah.
And in 1973, wages flatlined through today, and productivity continued to grow.
Right.
And it's that the labor unions had been, in the past, had been able to capture that productivity for the average person. That's no longer been the case.
I agree. I mean, I think I appreciate you bringing that point up. And as a union member since I was 16 years old, I joined SAG when I was still living in Chicago when I was 16 years old. I actually qualify for retirement under my union now because I've been a union member for so long. 31 years I've been in SAG. That's kind of amazing.
Is that when you were in Frog?
Yeah. That's right.
And Shelley Duvall and Elliot Gould.
That's right. And Scott Grimes.
Really?
Yeah, and Paul Williams. Anyways, but so I've been a union member for that long because I've been in an industry where a lot of people would work for free and in dangerous conditions just because of the kind of nature of the job it was, So, and again, this is another situation where as progressives and liberals, we need to start standing up, vocalizing, but also voting our conscience every single time for the betterment, to take that positive step forward. But the reality is so many pro-union voters, so many pro-Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security voters, so many anti-war voters or whatever have taken their foot off the gas every other election. And the thing we have to hit home is we vote every 2 years in this country without fail. And you choose the better person every time. And if somebody's too corporate or they're doing something genuinely evil, I don't care which party it is, they get yanked. But everybody else who just because I don't think they're going far enough for me, I'd rather have that than the next Scalia and the Gorsuch who's decimating unions and environmental regs and doing the rules of engagement changes that Trump did. There is a difference, and you can the guilt that all those moments where you say what we're doing in Guatemala, what we're doing in Chile, and what we've done over those times have all been times when the anti-war vote and the pro-peace vote and all the people have stepped back for whatever reason and have let the Reagans of the world roll in. And they could say they had a reason to do it because maybe Dukakis was evil. Like, I don't buy it. I think Al Gore would have handled 9/11 differently. And I believe that to this day. And I don't believe Hillary Clinton would have separated children from their families the same way. And I do think while she had some hawkish things that I had a problem with, they're wholly different from the kind of laissez-faire war-making that is going on currently. And if those are your choices, you make the adult choice. That's my belief. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Backtracking 2 or 3 topics ago.
Sure, it happens.
National voter ID issued by the post office. They know where you live.
Yeah, absolutely. And based on your Social Security number. If you're a U.S. citizen, you have to have a Social Security number. It's based on your citizenry. At 18, you are automatically registered to vote, and you automatically get one. There should be no no question. And you can go to any political building, and your state house, a police station, anywhere, and with that voting card you could swipe it, and it has your voter your party affiliation and your address and all that stuff in it. So you go to the police station, you go, I'm going to vote, I'm going to use the voting machine here, and you swipe it, and then you don't have to go to your own polling place. And if somebody took your ID and tried to do it again, it would go, that one already voted at the police station over here. So nobody could double it up or steal your vote or try to vote twice. And if you don't have that ID and you can't do it, you can always go to your polling place and use your address, your gas bill or anything that you used to do all the time, so that the older voters, we can roll into that, or people who don't have that or lose it for any reason. Yes. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Backtracking again.
Sure.
We were talking about the age thing, the age gap.
Yeah.
Now it's not about grabbing your friend to go vote. It's not even about grabbing your friend to go run for office. It's about grabbing your friend's kid. When they come, that's what we did in our area. We have some of our county board members,
right.
Our township trustees are under the age of 30. We grabbed them when they were in high school and built them to where.
Yeah, absolutely. You should take, I took my son is 7 years old. The last time we had an election in Los Angeles, I brought him with me. He was 6 at the time. For the last election we had a local election there or whatever, and I brought him with me, and he went with and saw the process of me voting. And I will do that every time that he is with me when I have a voting experience, so he will know that this is a part you play in a participatory democracy. This is a natural part of our existence here, and you don't take it for granted.
Our county board's kid.
Yeah.
Lovely. She's 11 years old. She's going around in our office with her cousins talking about, we're going to do this for an hour. You have a 5-minute break after this. She's having them do the packets that we were dropping.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I'm like, this is our future.
Yeah.
You start them this early.
Absolutely.
And they learn what we do, and then we take them with.
The complaint. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And one of the things we talk about is how we don't teach civics anymore, or governmental studies in schools or whatever. And I think we don't have a choice whether to learn civics or not. We just have a choice whether to learn it through the normal channel in school or in one big fell swoop during this like lead up to an impeachment. You know what I mean? Because right now everybody's having civics class. We're all studying the 25th Amendment, and we're all learning all these details about, you know, presidential and Senate power, and you know, how many, you know, what constitutes a majority, and who breaks a tie in the Senate. Like all that stuff you should have learned in 7th grade. In civics class, which they've stripped out. Everybody's having to learn in a bum rush at the end, and so you don't have a choice as whether to learn it or not. You just whether to learn it through joy or through pain, as it were. And I think it's all the more reason why we should be teaching kids, you know, civics and home ec in school as a part of being an adult in this society. So
and home ec you get to eat.
Yeah, you do. You get to cook. I know. Absolutely. And if you're in Spanish class, you get to learn, you get Spanish, you cook Spanish dishes as part of the adjunct. Didn't you do that? No? Okay. And everybody, by the way, in our chat room, they're saying vote early or absentee. Whatever you can do. That's the other thing, too, is if you at all can do a paper ballot and get them mailed to you, that is absolutely the way to go. This is true. Newton Minow was the first Obama supporter. That's fun. Yeah, so go ahead.
One thing you're missing on the whole drug problem is that 3 joints in the South get you a felony rap that knocks you off the voter rolls forever.
Oh, yeah, it's not a question. Yeah, that's
Illinois restores voting rights. And in fact, Rauner just vetoed legislation that would allow people to go into the prisons and talk about, hey, you're getting out in 2 weeks, you know, you can register to vote.
Right.
And he vetoed that legislation a couple weeks ago. But in the whole South, all the red states, you get, 3 joints and that's it. You never vote again unless you move to Illinois.
I mean, it's the Jeff Sessions form of voter purge.
It's a voter suppression.
That's exactly what he's been shooting for.
And that's why they want to keep marijuana illegal, because
it's
how
also,
else can you get rid of so many people?
It's also why when they find a white kid with 3 joints, they let him off with a warning, or they crush him and let him drive away, and they see a minority kid do it, and they throw the book at him because it gets on the books, and that kid can't vote.
And believe me, they are out looking. And
and again, this is why you don't let up. This is why you don't take for granted this. This is why you don't piss away your vote when you're in another state, because other people's votes are being actively stolen. And so you are abdicating, you are giving away something and being mad because someone else is taken. That makes no sense whatsoever. If you're willing to give up your vote, who gives a shit if they're stealing it from somebody else? You don't even care about it. You take their vote for granted at the same time you take your own vote for granted. You know, and it's like people who are miserable in a first world country because they think it will make people in a third world country feel better. Like, no, asshole. They wish they were here and they didn't have food insecurity every second of every goddamn day. So if they look at you like, well, they're miserable too. There is no hope in the world. You know what I mean? You have a responsibility to live at the top of your value system. You have a responsibility to use every tool at your advantage to make the best society for those around you, especially the people who are disenfranchised, especially the people who have a Chris Kobach running their friggin' voting rolls. So, and thank you, Jamie White, for the 666 in the chat room. That's really awesome. And I'm checking it. Thank you for bringing that up, though. But these are, again, subtle reasons why how they deny people their vote. And anytime someone is having their vote stolen, if you give your vote away, I don't want to hear from you that you think voting lines or polls have been stolen, because you don't even care to shepherd your own vote. You can't be bothered to do it when it's easy. You got 20 voting machines in your district. They've had 7 of their 9 stolen. And you're not even showing up when it's easy. It takes less than 10 minutes for you to vote. They're standing in line for 3 hours. Why should I take your anger seriously at that point? It's sad. It really is. And again, in Puerto Rico, like you were saying, it takes like 45 minutes to vote because there's a line of people outside there and largely because Puerto Rico is being denied statehood and being denied a lot of its possible rights or whatever. And you're lucky enough to live in a state that's already blue, and you don't want to bother to add your voice to a cause you believe in the one singular act that's verifiable in your citizenry. Like that, I know I catch fire about this stuff, but frigging matters because. Yes, right. If it matters, and if you don't believe it's your patriotic duty, what you're doing is abdicating patriotism to people who don't give a rat's ass about the human beings that live in this country if they're not the same color as them. They don't. Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Well, taking that even further, if it's patriotic, let's make it July 4th.
Well, yeah, that's see, then everybody be drunk and all hot dogged out. They all have tryptophan on them. But I do. Here's the thing: you can keep the date. You can keep the date and have it separate from the patriotic activity, because believe me, the jingoistic crowd would use the July 4th rah 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 as a way to angle for a more warlike stance in political stuff, because if you're voting around and the rockets red glare, the accidental psyop of singing about bombs bursting in the air that would push people towards there's bad people out there, we need a good military, like that as the primary focal point of governing, as opposed to in November where we're all thankful for what we have. There's an element of Thanksgiving being around that date where you actually go, hey, don't take your democracy for granted.
Well, I think we could use that to our advantage, though. It seems to me like the people that are most drunk and all about the bombs and, well, you're drunk. We can tell you that, voting is elsewhere.
Yeah, right.
But,
Dude, today's the 3rd. Yeah, right. Yes.
You're already drunk off a crappy Bud Light. Yeah,
that's right.
We'll go do the responsible thing. Don't let it bother you.
Drunk, not when cannabis is legal. That's what they're saying in the chat. And by the way, thank you, chat room, for those of you that have stuck around. I'm not ignoring you or whatever, and I am kind of incorporated what they're and making sure that you guys have a say. I love Ronner's attack against JB. Like no crap, Texas will rise because Ronner's policy cost the state billions of dollars, right? Yeah. So go ahead. Hi.
Hi, I'm Amy.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
To
Thanks.
our area.
Thanks for playing the raffle and winning tickets.
Woo!
Yeah.
Great. My main concern, to kind of take it back to the Supreme Court, is what if Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins don't vote no? What if they don't come out of the ether and they don't vote no, and this un-American, fascist, racist idiot gets on the court, then what do we do? What do you think the chances are that if we were to overtake the House and the Senate, that we could increase the size of the Supreme Court by 2 seats?
I'm for it, but very small. And here's the thing. You know what's going to happen with Kavanaugh? More than likely, he's going to get on. And we're going to have to live with the shame and ignominy of allowing this to happen, because that's exactly what happened. Because the margin for the Electoral College was 77,000 votes across 3 states. And this is what happens when you don't take the vote seriously every single time. And unfortunately, we've let it happen 3 times now. And and as frustrating as it is, that frustration means nothing unless it gets you to the voting booth and makes you drive a friend there. Like, I'm as upset about it.
What about going there? I mean, do you really think that there are 60,000 people in the city of Detroit that didn't vote for president? That's the figure. The figure is that all these people went, they filled out their ballots, but no, they just didn't want to pick anybody.
Yeah.
You really think that happened?
Yeah. Well, no.
See, I don't believe that it did.
I think there was some shenanigans around some of the voting thing. That's my own personal conspiracy theory belief, but not a margin that would have tipped that particular place. It would have still, again. And here's the thing: if the margin is that close, it's still our fault. It shouldn't even be within cheating distance. That's how Gore lost. It should have never gotten that close. The idea that we allowed somebody to say the difference between Gore and Bush, the second, is somehow vaguely similar, and a bunch of us stepped back and went, I don't know, maybe I'll Nader it this time, because what the hell's the difference between the two? Right. The allowance of that happening is the cause of the Iraq War as a reaction to 9/11. Right. And that we are living with a $3 trillion bill and a bunch of dead people because we took our foot off the gas around that. And that shame, that regret, we should own that to inform our behavior going forward.
Absolutely.
And Kavanaugh is another act of that. You do not let go. It's so frustrating. I can't even be pissed at the Republicans because the margin shouldn't be this close. The vast majority of people were for gay marriage by 70 to 30. But where were those people? Where were they? Why weren't they at the voting booth? Because they didn't care.
What I believe we've lost is representative democracy. The Americans don't want what's happening.
We didn't lose it.
Even the Republicans don't want what their guys are voting for.
But here's the thing. We didn't lose it. We gave it away.
Right.
You don't lose it. You take responsibility every single time. Even if you feel like it's wrong to saddle me with this guilt, I don't care. I personally, this is how I live. It is my responsibility. Because I know that feeling will motivate me to go to the voting booth even when it's hard. That's what matters. Because if I don't, women lose the right to choose. And rich women get to go across into Canada and get an abortion, and poor women die of septicemia from rusty coat hangers again. That's what matters. That's what's got to drive you. And if you let it happen, and somebody like that, that's our punishment for not standing up for our values every single time in the way that moves it forward until there's a safe enough margin to go, you know what? We're 70-30 at this point. The Republicans are basically falling apart. Let them turn into the Nader party at this point because there's more of a chance that the Whigs would come back and take over than Democrats losing this. And we can have a conversation that's legitimate about policy within the Democratic Party without any help from them destroying the country from within. And until we reach that margin, it's our fault. It has to be. Otherwise, the minute you say, well, you know, what can you do? You're abdicating that responsibility, and people's lives are at stake. Women's lives. Women will die because of Kavanaugh's decisions. And Kavanaugh's in because a bunch of people didn't bother. They couldn't be bothered because they thought, well, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Those emails.
Yeah, maybe. But if you're going to count on, but again, why is that? That's a dumb answer. Ultimately, bless your heart, I appreciate it. But we shouldn't be in this situation. We should never let that ground happen. Never, ever, ever. Not ever. You vote for the
early
better.
and vote often.
Yes, right. You vote every time there's an election. I will not be moved on this point. I believe in it too fervently, and the argument in contrary is the laziest, most self-involved, dismissive, Ayn Randian garbage, no matter if it comes from somebody on the left or the right. I don't care. George Carlin is one of my comedic heroes, but his idea of not voting, the hell with it. It's wrong. Everybody's, you know, he's like a broken clock that was wrong twice a day. You know, he was right the rest of the time. He just skipped the right hour twice a day. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead. And welcome, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. So first off, I want to remind everybody that the Supreme Court is not actually the last say in what's law in this country.
We can pass laws in Congress to change it. We can pass
laws and constitutional amendments to overdo anything the Supreme Court does.
This is true.
Much more difficult, but something.
Not if you vote every time.
Not if you vote every time.
Not if the Congress actually reflected the will of the people, because everybody who cared about these things actually showed up and goddamn voted every time.
Exactly.
Like the point I'm trying to make. 70% of people in the country are for the decriminalization of marijuana. If all those voters showed up instead of either staying home high or just going, it's somebody else's problem, the volume of votes in the House and the Senate would be enough to overturn any unrighteous drug laws that were codified by the Supreme Court.
That's why we got to let people know that people like Paul standing up
there you go.
is for legalization, and he's running for the 70th Illinois House.
That's right.
That's true.
That's great.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Paul's with us, and Paul is making, he just did Nixon figures, which I think is an interesting choice.
Well, you know,
I'm turning over my leaf. No pun intended. I was wrong about pot, but we're keeping the dog. So,
yeah. And what I really wanted to say, though, is to emphasize your point that the down ballot races are actually the ones that influence your life much, much more. The farther down the ballot you go, the more that race influences your everyday life. And so when you say people stay home because they don't want to vote for president, they are forfeiting that chance to control what's going to happen in their own lives, what's going to happen in their schools and their towns and so forth. And that's for everybody, right, left, independent, wherever.
You do
vote down ballot, and take. I mean, the reason or in my mind, the presidential is fun and all the networks cover it and it's a horse race and everybody's involved. As you go farther down, there's less and less coverage. People don't know anything about it. And so it takes
due
the
diligence.
Voter, it's their responsibility to find out. And somebody has said, democracy is not a spectator sport.
Right.
You've got to be involved. You've got to go and find out who these people are. Go to forums. As a local candidate, I'm dying to find people to talk to express my views to them and hear what they have to say. And I'm looking for chances to debate my opponent so that people can see us face to face and next to each other. It's up, but when we do these things, when we have these forums, when we invite people to come and listen to us, and 3 people show up, in a town of 40,000, that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah,
and so you've got to take the responsibility as a voter, because otherwise you get the government you deserve, which is unfortunately where we are right now.
Look at, I appreciate it, and I'm glad you do that, and I'm glad we're here to actually have you be able to say that on the air today, and I'm glad, honestly, yeah. And technically, Paul, there are more than 3 people in this room right here, and they were able to. That's right. All right, I just started. Help me out. It's your first time here. But yeah, that's exactly my point, though, is that you do not waste any vote in any of these. And then, because the people who do it the fastest are the ones that complain that religious nuts are taking over their school boards, and that minorities are being denied voting machines, and and that pot and heroin are considered the same thing by the Secretary of State and the Attorney General of the state, right? First wants to go, well, yeah, what are you gonna do? It's lesser of 2 evils, Yeah, okay, between a serial killer and a pickpocket, the pickpocket is the lesser of the 2 evils. You gonna flip a coin over which house you sleep at that night? No, you're gonna choose the one that isn't going to kill you, right? And then you're gonna better your friends over time. You're gonna improve the neighborhood you're in because of your own behavior and how you live. And again, I will not let this go.
To be fair, they never proved I was a serial killer.
Yeah, right. Son of a bitch. Right. That's because they never thought you actually had the kind of organizational skills to make it happen. Because those people get things done. They do. Let's be honest. Yeah. I was in Wisconsin.
Whiteboards freak me out.
Yeah, whiteboards. Yeah, they all need one, right? Yeah. But the point is, over this course of this and throughout this show, and every time we've gotten around to an election cycle, I brought this up again and again because I think it's increasingly important. And this is something in a democracy you do not give. You can yell all you want. You can march everywhere. It means nothing unless you vote. It affects nothing because the people who are actually in office are kept there by votes, not by loud voices and not by hashtags. Yep. And when they go, I need to be back in office to stop that monster or to get my agenda done, who am I going to court? A bunch of voters that won't show up, that'll march but don't get in the voting booth, that won't show up at a town meeting? Do I court those people? And those people go, my voice matters. Well, you don't vote. It's not going to affect me being in office, so I got to talk to the people to make sure I get in. You go, well, you're just surrounded by corporatists or whatever. Yeah, because those people actually get to the voting booth. Yeah. They actually show up. And if I don't court them, that guy gets in. And that guy I know will strip away those rights. And you might have a problem with me, but that guy's going to ruin your life. And so what are my choices if I'm a decent person? Look at Obama and gay marriage. Obama was for gay marriage from the very beginning. And David Axelrod said, if you say you're for gay marriage right away, you're not going to get in office. You have to say you're for civil unions and that you believe marriage is between man and a woman. And eventually the country will come around to your way of thinking, but they're not there yet. And Obama, in Axelrod's book, he said, I feel like a liar every time I say it. But if he just said it, he never would have gotten in office. You know who would have gotten in office? Somebody who guaranteed that gay people would never gotten married. Somebody who, a Mormon or Sarah Palin, who would have guaranteed that the whole point of their life was that gay people couldn't serve in the military. These are the choices that people have to make because they can't rely on you to stand up every single time, unequivocally, always making the better choice no matter who's available to you. Always making the better choice. You always make the better choice. You never leave that open to anybody else. Other than that, I have no opinion. And I love you, chat room. By the way, I'm not. You guys know this, and they're I'm getting some breach, Hal. So and Johnny, they think you only serial kill tasty breakfast products.
I love pancakes.
So anyway, and ma'am, yeah.
Hi, just want to welcome you folks to Dekalb County.
Thank you. It's great to be here in Dekalb at the House Cafe. I should remind everybody again that that's where we've been all day. And thanks to WCPT for setting this up. He's already here.
You might have noticed we've got some corn.
And
beans and stuff like that around here.
There's a lot of corn going around.
Enough corn to make fog.
You can make some hot fructose and corn syrup.
It's true.
Right.
And while I am not a farmer myself, I do own some farm land, and we lease it back to the farmer from whom we purchased it. And so that makes me accessible to getting emails from the Department of Agriculture. And as we're all familiar with, I'm going to bring this kind of local, our farmers were hit by our inspirational trade tariffs that are in effect. And the general talk was basically, trade, not aid. Our farmers don't really want those things to be happening, and such as it goes.
They don't want corporate welfare.
Exactly.
In this, which ironically, boy, the Republicans are all about welfare when it goes to a particular set of human beings.
And that's what I want to tell you about.
Yeah.
So we already know about the Commodity Credit Corporation, which was that they first came out with those to offset the trade tariffs because that was a Depression-era program or something like that. Okay, well, so I want to share with you.
When we killed all the topsoil, you mean?
Right. And so there was, I think they could get $30 billion from that, but they were talking about getting 12. Well, here's what's going on now. I'm going to read you this from the USDA, from the Department of Agriculture. Sonny Perdue announced. Now, this is from August 27th, but I've gotten more recent ones what I want to tell you about. But so Sonny Perdue says that he's announcing, this was on the 27th, details of actions by the U.S. Department of Agriculture will take to assist farmers. I love this. In response to trade damage from unjustified retaliation by foreign nations.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, our farmers are telling us who vote for Trump, I'm willing to take the hit, okay? Because he's got a plan, and we're going to wait for that. And if we have to sacrifice, then we're going to do that. I mean, we'll take that aid, but we're going to sacrifice too. Okay.
By sacrifice, we mean we'll get corporate welfare that will protect us during this stuff.
So President Donald J. Trump directed Secretary Perdue to craft a short-term relief strategy to protect agricultural producers while the administration works on free, fair, and reciprocal trade deals to open more markets in the long run to help American farmers compete globally. I don't know what plan he has. I don't think he's got time for a plan.
Right.
He's too busy, worrying about other things. Okay. Yeah. So as announced last month, the USDA will authorize up to $12 billion in programs. That was that other one, consistent with the World Trade Organization obligations. So then, now, these are some other things coming up. The USDA is going to have a farm service agency which will administer the Market Facilitation Program, MFP. That's the new thing they're coming out with, to provide payments to corn, cotton, dairy, hog, sorghum, soybean, and wheat producers starting in September 4th of 2018. That announcement came.
Right,
okay, now
right time to pay them basically for their vote.
Yeah, to buy a few votes. Okay. Yeah. So then the USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service will administer, I love this, administer a food purchase and distribution program to purchase up to $1.2 billion in commodities unfairly targeted by unjustified retaliation. USDA's Food and Nutrition Service will distribute these commodities through nutrition assistance programs such as the Emergency Food Assistance Program and Child Nutrition Programs.
Right.
My grandkids love sorghum.
Yeah, right.
They're going to really,
absolutely.
put it in a little package and they'll really like
Meanwhile,
it.
Meanwhile, all the red states will pass a law against serving tofu in schools because that's where all the soybeans are going to get dumped.
Yeah.
Right.
So through and now another point is through the Foreign Agricultural Service, that's FAS, Agricultural Trade Promotion Program, $200 million will be made available to develop foreign markets for U.S. agricultural products. The program will help U.S. agricultural exporters identify and access new markets and help mitigate the adverse effect of other countries' restrictions.
Ta-da. Right.
Yeah.
Which
so now I just got
Which basically they'll do the equivalent of the cash dump in Iraq, where they, where they drop like disappeared pallets of cash. Essentially, we're like, yeah, we're investing in people. Well, we can't trust these people, so we better just set the money on fire. And they're like, that's not a bad idea, actually. You could destroy some of the money and it'll never be seen again. It kind of raises the dollar value. Let's take some of this food and just burn it, essentially.
Right.
Or dump it somewhere on it. Yeah, we gave that in food assistance. We're not giving it to Palestine, that's for damn sure.
Right.
Because we just rescinded all of our aid for them. But, yeah.
And so now our farmers, and I love our farmers, right?
Yeah.
We all live out here for a reason, and a lot of it is because we love we've got some of the best soil in the country,
Yeah.
and in the world, right?
Yes.
But I do want to mention, too, you mentioned we do have the largest pipeline running through our county. Pumps
indeed.
more tar sand oils than Keystone XL. And they
Right.
want to put a twin in.
Oh, of
to
course
it.
they do.
So anyway,
Absolutely.
but so that. And farmers have been having problem with drainage problems after that.
What a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
And what could be wrong with running a tar sands oil pipeline
Right.
through where your food is grown
Right.
and your
And
water aquifers
yeah,
are?
and all
Right.
exactly water
Right.
aquifers.
Yeah, why don't you just run it across the Great Lakes while you're at it,
Right.
and just
Well,
have three of them run across like a bridge. Yeah.
So anyway, I
Yeah.
did get my notice from the FDA, and so did all the other farmers who now know to go down to their farm bureau and apply for more aid right before an election.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you very much. And let's dude. And this will be our final thing, so they can pack up all their stuff, because we're making them hang out, and they've got to pack up all the CPT gear.
All right,
too,
well, then
so,
I got to say I'm a little bit sorry that I didn't bring this up earlier, especially when we were actually out over WCPT and everything
indeed.
on that.
Yeah.
But nothing that I'm going to say next is going to make any sense unless I start out with I'm
Okay.
adopted,
Okay.
and I didn't inherit anything except for my race, but none of my siblings have that benefit. They don't. I live in a biracial family. I actually have an adopted black twin brother because it's just how it works out.
Right.
Right? So I get to grow up with somebody, but there's been... Sorry, I'm nervous out.
That's okay.
That's all
No,
good.
no,
Hey,
absolutely.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this. I was a millennial, but old enough at least to vote Obama in twice for the sake of actually having a change. Because I'm tired of going into a gas station with my brother, getting pulled over by the cops and getting treated differently just as a result of him physically being in the car, or any of my siblings.
Right.
I mean, gay rights, racial relations, I've got all of that in my family.
Yeah.
And this is just screwed up. I thought that actually having Obama come in, actually being able to have that start would change. I mean, I can't even describe what it's like when we got family that's all over the country. I mean, I have employers, coworkers, friends in hundreds of countries.
Yeah.
Like there's probably like 260 countries anyways, but I've got like at least half of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Bulgarian, Russian, Croatian, but it's not just that either. South African, Senegal, everywhere down in Central America. I've seen everything. I've met all kinds of people. And then to have this subset of the American population that still believes that the Civil War is not over, that the Confederate flag, they treat it as their own version of their civic religion, and they try to pollute the actual national discourse and make that a portion of it. I'm sorry, but I can't take it. I've had to... It's disconcerting when, as a child, you realize that you're traveling through what most people would consider or detrimentally as flyover country. But when you see a giant Confederate flag on the back of someone's truck, and your mother will not allow your siblings to get out to go into the gas station with you because she's actually afraid that you're going to get lynched in 1998.
Right.
This is screwed up.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it.
Well,
I don't know how to deal with it. It's crazy.
It is understand though, progress is a road. We call it civilization for a reason, because it's an ongoing process, and people can slip back into it at any time. That's why it matters that we live at our higher selves all the time. And you also recognize that while all this, the haunting specter of these racist monsters exists out there, the truth is the vast majority of this country has moved forward in a bunch of ways. And it's one of the reasons why these groups are acting up as strongly as they are, because they are left alone. One of the reasons they sit at a bar, they used to be able to sit at a bar in North Carolina and just turn to the person next to them and say something racist and get a response that they wanted. And now more and more they either see someone of that race or they see someone who goes, dude, buzz off. And you know, they always say, like, there's a new study that came out that said social media makes people feel more lonely. That more you get on Facebook, the more depressed you are. This does not apply to Nazis. And I'll tell you why. No. Because when you and I are on Facebook and we put...
unlike many of my friends who want to sit there, and you see people talk about it on the during the past election and whatnot, everybody was deleting friends and doing all this.
Yeah.
No. I have been subversively. People talk to me because they don't know me. Yeah. They don't know what I've lived. They don't know what I experienced. And
you have to hold that presence.
That I have to share with my own brother. Right. Because other people treat him differently. Other people treat my siblings differently than me. This is not, it's a whacked out thing. I don't delete my friends. I view it, which is a little bit like detrimental to your mental health and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
Like, just actually not delete these people. But
that's the engagement
they
of
have
difficulty.
To be exposed to it. I've got a half brother who would very kind of just casually throw out the N-word and stuff like that. I had to sit him down and be like, you can't do this.
Right.
You don't understand.
Well, that's
Words
why
have
it's
power.
Active. It's active. This is, you know, and again, this is why you don't give up on it every step, because we can slide back so easily, and people are, you know, new batches of human are made all the time, and they need to be civilized. You need to recognize.
That's
the
funny part.
That's right. So, you know, and so more and more, I think anytime we take for granted, like, you know what, it's you know, we can coast. That's when the people who actively have been waiting for their moment to pull us all back really get their, you know, their bristles up. Because when most of us look at Instagram, we put something up and only 100 people like it, and you're like, oh, or 20 people like it, and you're like, oh, I wish, you know, man, people don't like my stuff. A neo-Nazi puts it up and goes, 20 people hate what I hate.
Oh,
I'm not alone. You know what I mean? They actually, that's a lot of this has spurred their belief that I'm more connected. There are more people like me than ever.
And then speaking on that, this mentality of trolling, this mentality of it, like, what the heck kind of mental disease do you have that you actually gain enjoyment from just causing other people mental anguish from saying something that's either unfactual, biased,
or just brutal?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what is the point?
Well, again,
what is wrong with you?
Well, here's the thing. This is what I tell my friends when they're like actors who are trying to get into movies and stuff, and they don't get it, and they take it personally. They're like, "Oh, there's so much rejection in the industry." Like, no, there isn't. The project could have fallen apart. The director could have quit. They could have hired somebody else who's totally different than you. They wanted a blonde for it, and you're not. And it's not personal. It's just different, and you need to let it go. But they carry around with this. My fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. The reality is, we take for granted the good people around us because we see what's wrong with society. And we should focus on it. We should heal it, but not at the expense of recognizing that that you're in a room full of like-minded people who feel exactly like you do and would never engage in the behavior that you're talking about with a person who is different from them because it is antithetical to who they are as human beings. And those people outvoted the guy who was in office by 3 million votes last time. Yeah. And had the people who believed that shown up more, the number would have been even higher. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And it's why you have to pursue the proper path, and you have to make sure that you weed out the bad cops and all that kind of stuff. You have to recognize you either believe that humans are basically good or they're basically not. And I believe that they're basically good. And the ones that aren't basically good need to either understand that they are outnumbered by the good. You never let anybody who's evil have ground on you and there's more of me than there is of you, when there absolutely is not. And you don't allow the monsters to think, they always say that the greatest trick the devil played was making you think he doesn't exist. I disagree. I think the greatest trick the devil plays is making you think there's more of him than there is of you. Because that's the modern thing. That's right now is that 2,500 YouTube commenters act like a million people. Yeah. And they're not. And so people like you, maintaining your presence in social media and standing your ground and being a decent human being matters more and more, and it's the same qualification for the vote.
I don't like to try and talk to it too much on social media, but hey, every now and again,
yeah, sure.
Once a year,
you get in a flame war. It's okay. Yeah.
But it's the personal relations. It's this exposure, evolution of thought. You actually have to get in front of people.
Yes.
Get in front of in their physical face.
Yeah.
Like physically see them.
Yes.
And talk to them and explain these kinds of things to them. And
engage them as humans.
Trying to do a little bit here on my own end. I mean, I've had my own evolutions of thought over time. I grew up actually using, like every little kid would, the word faggot.
Right.
Then I got a gay member in my family, and that started to actually click of what that does to somebody else's psyche.
Sure.
When you just continually
and the history
throw
of that
out,
word,
like
that word means kindling, and the reason that word became synonymous with gay people is when they would burn witches or people at the stake, they would burn the gay people first as kindling. They were the first humans murdered in those situations, and that's where that word carries its weight. And you may not know that because the way it gets thrown around the playground. Why would you? You know what I mean? You're not brought up knowing the history and the background of these things. And once you do, you just stop. You don't have to, just ceasing is enough.
I know. Children don't know any of this. This is what they are taught from their family. I grew up thinking that the civil rights movement actually succeeded.
It
no,
did.
I mean,
wait.
You're like,
it
did, but it just really
because we are well ahead of the fire hoses and dogs of the '60s. And the minute we think we aren't, that's when they win because they're like, yeah, none of that went anything. That's just fart air, man. That just went away. When it actually did codify law and it did guarantee equality for people in a way that didn't exist previously. But the social aspect of it, that's the maintenance part. So I don't believe in social justice as a phrase because there's no such thing. There's social interaction and there's justice. Just give me justice. I'll handle the social part myself. Right. As long as the law protects everybody the same way and people aren't able to, keep somebody from voting because of the color of their skin, that's all I need. The rest of it is just making humans act like humans, and that's a longer slog, right? That's why the Ten Commandments said, "Thou shalt not kill" in there. We couldn't debate about manslaughter versus a crime of passion at that point. It's just like, everybody stop killing everybody for a second, okay? Just a law, just a flat law, right? And then we can move from there. So, anyways, I appreciate you standing up, and I appreciate you carrying the banner for your family the way you do in everything that you do. So, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Last half comment.
Yeah.
The Confederate flag belongs in a museum, and student loans are indentured servitude.
Oh, he's going to do a whole
All right, there you go. All right.
Yeah, he's going to take pictures of everybody.
Awesome, thanks for that. Huh?
Yeah.
We've got 7 T-shirts. Are we going to give them away with the raffle? Okay, 7 T-shirts. T-shirt number 1 goes to Javier Vargas. Javier Vargas, if he's still here. Nope. Okay. Might have left. Mark Curtis. Mark, they went together. All the people whose tickets are on top. That's how it works out. Okay. Tess Farnham. Tess. Yay! Tess gets a T-shirt. There you go. Tess Farnham. And hi, chat room. You guys are awesome, by the way. I haven't forgotten about you. Carolina Douglas. Carolina Douglas. Carolina Douglas. All right. Nope. Okay. Microphone's in my face. Brett M. Frazier. Brett Frazier. Hey, there you go. Hey, Brett. Right on. Brett gets a shirt. There we go. And Lee Marie Munoz. Yay. Lee Marie Munoz. Is she here? Did she take off? Okay. So this is what happens when we give T-shirts away at the very, very end. Like you should. Yeah, it's at the top. Or people are afraid to wear highlighter yellow. David Richards. David Richards. These are all the people who are on top. Like, I should have stirred them up. Lori Mondragon. Yay, Lori. There you go. See? Lori gets one. Excellent. And then I'm just going to keep calling out Rich Lukes. Rich Lukes. Hey, Rich. There you go. Hanging out in the back. Oh, there we go. He's safe. He's all right. Rich gets one. Right back there. He's coming. Chat room, you're awesome, by the way.
All right, I'm getting the smaller shirts now. I need smaller.
You need smaller people? Linda McNeely. Yeah, all right. Oh, okay. Hopefully, Linda's small. We'll get a small T-shirt for her. And Carol Jodine. Carol Jodine. Come on, Carol Jodine. Where are you? Carol Jodine. Jodine. Don't you take my man. All right. Karen Wedby? Karen Wedby?
Who wants a small?
He gets a small, yeah. Okay. And one more and we're done. Yay, cool. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, chat room. Thank you, Johnny Million. Thanks all you people. Yeah, of course. We'll do pictures. I just need to pack up my stuff. And, oh, Dolores? Okay. Yes. Yeah. Sure.
Dream Action is sponsoring a film at the Sandberg Auditorium at NIU, the Home Student Center, you know, the tower. And it's Monday, September 17th at 6:30. It's a film about Dolores Huerta. Who knows who Dolores Huerta is? See, it shows that our school books aren't doing their job. She preceded Cesar Chavez. How many people know her as Cesar Chavez?
Yeah, of course.
She started the farm workers before Cesar Chavez did. And she's been an activist and still going. She's 88 years old.
Right.
She's still going. This is about her life. So I encourage everybody to go and pick up where your school books left off.
Right.
It's at Home Student Center at 6:30 on Monday, September 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Awesome. Thank you guys in the chat room for joining in the conversation, being part of it all day, and it's just great. And Johnny Million, thank you for being part of it today, and love you. Great. Yeah. Cool. Oh, God. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye, chat room. See you later. Yeah. Son of a. Oh. I got it. Oh. Almost landed in my coffee. That was fun. Bye, chat room. We'll see you next time. Say bye to Johnny. Hold on. There's Johnny. Bye. Bye. See you next time.